remedies against private upland development will only increase, exacerbating existing inequities in coastal access and tipping the scale for further towards injustice. The Coastal Commission must continue working towards appropriately balancing the public interest in public lands and waters with private property rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Auer. Next I have for general public comment, Mike Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Mike Wilson. I live at 260 Beckett Place. Oh, sorry. We'll try that again.
There you go.
A while back, I asked an AI agent to create an image from 6th Street, looking west on Grand, of all the projects that we have approved so far. What I got back was rather remarkable on a number of levels, but the thing that impressed me the most was as I looked at those projects, it looked as though I was looking across at a Carnival cruise ship. The reality of it is that I'm not against Carnival cruise ships. The question I have is, how does it impair or provide for our community, for its cohesion? The thing that I was struck by was an article by Matt Brockman, thank you, who indicated that the projects are designed to create more opportunity for pedestrian involvement. That, I think, is a good idea. The question that I have, though, is what is our draw? We don't have an aquarium. We don't have a wharf. We don't even have a pier. What we have is a ramp that brings people through our community and out the door. What I'd like to suggest is right now you folks stand in a remarkable opportunity, an opportunity with the backing of a lot of finance and developers to create a structure, much like what I think Matt was talking about, where you would bring out the best of what our community has to offer by essentially creating the vendors and their venue so that they could be open to the community and to the open air. The thing that obviously this would do is create that attraction for us. But there is another piece that needs to be complemented with this, and that is public access. What I see in the image is no parking. All of the vendors that we're proposing to have built in these structures will not survive if you assume that they will live on the largesse of the people that live above them. We need to create public parking and access so that the vision that Mark or Matt had can be realized by people walking down and enjoying the environment that they have. The second benefit of this would be that you would create not only parking space, but breathing space. The fact that the projects are so remarkably big and so comprehensive from stem to stern, I'm talking faster, that the community cannot really appreciate what's on the other side. They're blocked from it. So from both points, the value of you now are arbiters. You will be the ones that steer us to either a community that can be inclusive and engaged, or one that stays isolated. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Next for general public comment, I have Debbie Peterson.
May we have more speaker slips?
You're out right now.
We're out, so we will.
You could just state your name and spell it for the record.
So once I'm through the speakers strips, the speaker slips, then I'll ask you to come forward. Hello.
Okay to go? I'm Debbie Peterson. I live on South 3rd Street. And I wanted to ask you if you would make sure that we get our general plan land use number 9 updated. It says population and demographics, the goals and objectives of the general plan must be founded on a thorough understanding of the present and future residents of the city if the objectives of the plan are to be achieved. And this is straight from land use. What follows is a brief discussion of past and future population growth in Grover Beach and an overview of the demographic composition of its residents as reported in the 2000 census, but we're in 2025. Additional information about Grover Beach demographics and socioeconomic data is provided in the General Plan Background Report, Past and Future Population Growth. Figure 3 shows historic population for the city from 1990 to 2009 as reported by the California Department of Finance, the DOF. The figure shows the city's population has grown slowly over the years. According to the DOF, it grew from about 11,500 in 1990 to 13,262 in 2005, an average annual growth rate of about 0.8% per year. The county grew 1.30% during the same period. And then Table 1 shows the population projections prepared for the SLO County Council of Governments for the city of Grover Beach and SLO County. Table 1 suggests that population growth for the city will continue at a modest pace for the next 20 years, growing from an estimated population of 13,550 in 2010 to about 15,000 in 2030, which represents an annual growth rate of about 0.5%. During the same period, county population is expected to grow about 1.2% per year from about 275,000 residents in 2010 to 335,000 in 2030. But guess what? I charted what's really happening. I went to the DOF, and you probably can't see this. Well, we sort of went like this, and now we're going like this. And so I'll be happy to leave a copy of this. And the population, they're now saying, experts are now saying, is probably going to decline by 2070, especially in the coastal areas. So we really get to 2025 when I think we were seeing about 15,000 in 2025. And in fact, we're about 1,000 down on what we were on the last number showing on the charts. So I wanted to ask if we could please be working from accurate information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have for general comment, Bob Nelson.
Hello. I'm Bob Nelson. I live on 3rd Street. I've been here for about 40 years. And I've got some. The Local Coastal Program, LPC, a local government's land use plans, zoning ordinances, zoning district maps, and implementation actions that together meet the requirements of and implement the provisions and policies of the California Coastal Act at the coastal level as described in Section 30108. Public access, the ability to enjoy public coastal lands and waters as protected by Sections 302.10, 302.14. Sensitive coastal resource areas, those identifiable geographically bound land and water areas within the coastal zone of vital interest and sensitivity, such as highly scenic areas, special communities, and neighborhoods which are significant visitor destination areas. Sensitive coastal resource areas means water areas within the coastal zone of vital interest and sensitivity, which include highly scenic areas, areas that provide existing coastal housing for low or moderate income persons. Scenic qualities of coastal areas include natural landforms, vegetation, and structures protected under Section 30251 of the California Coastal Act. The Commission is committed to protecting and enhancing California's coast and ocean for present and future generations. The California Coastal Act protects public access to the coast and shoreline, visual resources, and scenic qualities of coastal areas. Impacts to environmentally sensitive habitat areas. The California Coastal Act establishes various standards and limitations to protect and preserve the state's coastal resources. These include development standards. The Act sets forth criteria for the siting design of new development of the coastal zone, such as setback requirements, height limitations, visual compatibility with the surrounding area. The Act requires protection of sensitive coastal resources by limiting the development in these areas and establishing buffer zones. Cease and desist orders, Commission may issue cease and desist orders to stop unauthorized development or other activities that violate the Act or a permit. There are civil penalties. The Act authorizes the imposition of civil penalties up to $30,000 per violation, depending on the severity and duration of the violation. Criminal penalties. Violations of the act may be prosecuted as misdemeanors with potential fines and imprisonment. The Coastal Access Environment Justice. The public trust doctrine prioritizes public uses and interests over private ones. This doctrine holds that the state acts as a trustee, holding sovereign lands and navigable waters for the benefit of the public, ensuring their use and enjoyment.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else in the room who would like to speak for general public comment at this time? Okay, I'm not quite sure how to organize this. Should we just do it by hands and then, I guess so. Organize yourselves behind the next person.
Hi, good evening. Andrea C. Strand, 851 North 5th Street in Grover Beach, a longtime resident since 1999. I love this small beach community, and I'm very opposed to the 5-story plus buildings popping up and being planned in Grover Beach. I have many concerns regarding these 5-plus story buildings, but tonight I just want to address one issue. It's a big one, and it's the lack of parking and the increase of traffic along 4th Street and Grand Avenue, naturally anticipating so much more traffic and parking situations with the upcoming proposed projects. Some, I think Encore, I'm told, only has 1 parking space per person or per unit. Understand that Trinity might have tandem parking. So my question is, where are the visitors, where are the guests going to park? I talked to many in our community, believe you me, that have and have not found anyone in support of these 3-story buildings, we should say 5-story plus buildings, and cannot believe more are being proposed. All of the folks I talked to are asking questions like, where's our elected officials, our city council members? Where are the appointed planning commissioners? Do they all agree with this? Are they listening to members of the Grover Beach community, or are they listening to staffers working these projects? Or are they listening to the builders and the developers? I say up to now, you are not listening to your constituents of Grover Beach. I'm sorry to say that our once beautiful gateway to the dunes is no more, in my opinion. And I ask you to take a look at this seriously and say enough. Thank you.
If we could spare the applause, we'll be able to get on to the next person more quickly. I do have a speaker slip from Mary McClure, but I don't know what you wanted to speak on. Was it this topic with the public, the general, or do you have an item on the agenda?
Well, I'm not real sure, but I think I have an item on the agenda.
Okay, so is it item 3, the pre-application?
I have 4.
Item 4, okay. I will put 4 on here, and when we get to item 4, I'll bring it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have papers for you guys.
All right, continuing with general public comment. Please state your name and your...
10 Grover Beach.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
And,
Marcia, is that
Yes.
correct? Thank you.
Thornton. I have some comments about how questions have been answered by staff and whatnot here. At your September 2nd meeting, community development staff identified several issues they could not answer. Those issues should be resolved before any further such developments occur. One of the commissioners had stated, so without a specific quantitative value of what constitutes sufficient commercial space for mixed use, that subjectivity then is left to the commission to decide if it is sufficient. The development director stated, I can't answer that. The commissioner highlights that it is the planning commission that makes such determinations, and the community development director here and in subsequent statements avoids the issue by claiming not to know. The community development director repeats an oft-claimed position that has now been debunked in the appeal, that the commission would jeopardize the city's position with the state unless they approve her recommendation, and goes on to use another tactic she uses in other comments, that since no specifics have been codified, the commission cannot use its authority until it codifies the issue, and then attempts to change the subject by telling the director it is off course. The recent law signed by Governor Newsom does not in fact require the city to approve 5-story buildings, despite staff's narrative for over a year that it would do so. And then she goes on to say, and so just from a starting point, what we could look at as we look to potentially change that code is maybe it's a third commercial, 2/3 residential. And then we're in compliance with the Housing Accountability Act and not, jeopardizing our state with the state and the state. Our position with the state, so I think we're a little bit off topic and out of the agenda, but it is something that we're exploring. So here goes, that's coming up tonight also. Planner Bell says it's not anticipated that the elevators or stairwells would exceed the maximum height at this time. Based on past practice, where several 55-foot buildings have been allowed to later climb as high as 66, based on elevators and stairwells, it is reasonable to anticipate at this time, qualifier indicates that they will indeed exceed the maximum height. Is that to be the case with this your next few projects coming up? Yeah, but also this is speculative. Given the practice in which nearly every other mid-rise building approved in the past 18 months has exceeded the height, then the director has had the commission codified that as acceptable. It would appear the community development staff, and yet again, sidesteps the concern by labeling it speculative instead of inevitable.
Thank you very much for your comment. Can we have the next person for general comment?
My name is Erling Craver Leyenhuvud, and I live in the Five Cities administrative area, but I live in Pismo Beach, almost directly above you. I've lived in that house since 1997 with my husband, who's now deceased, but was a retired UCLA professor of economics. And I'm a native Californian and native Fresnan, so I know this area from many years ago, just as I know Santa Cruz and Monterey. I think the environmental question is pretty important here, and the beauty of this area is one of the biggest draws to the area, not only for me, not only for my husband, who thanked me his dying day for bringing him to this place at this time of his life, and it's really being destroyed by the kind of development that's being proposed. And I think it's number 3 on here is going to be right on Front Street. It's going to be very bad locations. You're putting these extreme high rises for the kind of area this is. One other comment on that. The south of France was once very much a place to go to. Then the beach areas had terrific high rises, higher than your building here, and it killed that. And this has happened in Italy, a country I know quite well as well. So, over the long run, this doesn't work. But with regard to these particular developers and these kinds of projects, there is a tendency for these developers to promise that they will provide housing for poorer people in them. Very often there are government money flows into it, and they provide this housing for, let's say, 10 units in a 80-unit building below their cost of below what they could rent it for a limited period of 10 years. And then they get all kinds of benefits from that. That is, maybe they're not taxed as high. There's all kinds of things like that. Unfortunately, it often happens that people that sit on the council, people that are in government, also benefit from this. But the general public, over the long run, and often not that long a run, do not benefit from it. So I think you really have to keep this in mind. And I really think the Coastal Commission that we voted for many years ago, and I'm old enough to remember when I voted for it, certainly did not mean to have 5-story or higher high-rises blocking views of many people from the ocean. And one other comment, I agree with those with regard to just the parking alone, because I don't go to Pismo Beach for that reason.
Thank you very much. Is there another person who'd like to speak for general public comment? Please come forward and give us your name.
I don't have any of the sections or whatever, but I will say I'm Joy Bram. I live on Front Street in Grover Beach, and we've been here since 1982, had our children here. I've been involved with the Five Cities youth basketball. I refereed high school basketball, San Luis Obispo home referee, and so I've been active in the community. And I understand progress, and I understand the building. It does look like a cruise ship. I kept trying to figure out. And you know, what it reminded me of, Debbie Peterson posted a picture, and it reminded me of El Paso in Palm Desert, which is comfortably walkable. And it's a wonderful place. You go there, you spend the whole day shopping, eating, walking up and down several blocks. But we can't get that because the commercial spaces they are building do not have any parking. People are not everybody's gonna Uber down there. They're just not going to. If they can't park, they'll go to Pismo and go out to dinner. And there's about 30-something people in my neighborhood that said I can speak for them. And 4th Street is ridiculous already. I mean, I have a BMW. I just gun it and go. But some people don't do that. You know, and I can get to 60 in like 5 seconds. And they're still on my bumper. They almost hit me because they're going 80. We need a stop sign or a stoplight. And I will bring you 100 signatures Monday night on the meeting if I need a petition for you to do something. I live on Front Street all day long. People and their dogs walking by, going to the beach all day long. And when I'm waiting to pull out on Ocean View, which sometimes if I don't gun it, I just turn right and go around the block. And the people on the other side of 4th Street, somebody's gonna get killed. They all walk to the beach and they have no safe place to cross. They run with their dogs. It's scary. But I think that you should take care of the safety for our people. And if I need to get signatures and a lawyer, whatever I need to do, tell me. I'm new at this. I don't come to very many. I've only been to one meeting, which is that bad on me. I'm going to change that. But what do I need to do? Do we need a lawyer? Is that the only way you're going to take care of us? Or what do we do? That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for coming and for your comment. We have another person. There's one in the back. We have two here.
Just really quick, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt, Chairman. Can we revisit Ms. McClure's comment and make sure that she's intended for item 4? I want to make sure we don't skip item 3 for her and then she can't provide public comment. It's item 3.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to confirm.
But I did have some other comments.
Yeah, general public comments for any items not on the agenda provide right now, but for anything related to item 3, you'll want to speak during that item. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Continue.
Hi, my name is Stacy Ritter. I'm a 19-year resident of Grover Beach. I live on Malibu Court by the Mentone Basin. I do understand that growth is inevitable and necessary, but I would just like to list some things that I don't understand, just for the good of the group. I don't understand why growth is exceeding need. I don't understand how income levels necessary to purchase have been met, but we're not creating opportunities. The only opportunities that are being created right now are still considered luxury, even though that need has already been met. I don't understand if our population growth is slowing. Could it be to the excessive cost of housing in the area and why new luxury buildings would address that need? I don't understand how the homeowners, taxpayers, and business owners in Grover Beach benefit from these developments. I don't understand how additional buildings continue to go up when the current ones that just went up have such a low occupancy rate. I don't understand how the infrastructure is going to support all of these new residents, whether they're part-time or permanent, and that includes parking, traffic, civil engineering. And I don't understand who specifically benefits from these high-rises besides the developers. I don't think the residents, taxpayers, and business owners of Grover Beach actually benefit from these high-rises. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see a gentleman in the back. Again, please, so that we can get to everyone's comment. Thank you.
My name is Steve Boyd. I'm a 50-year family-owned 255 Beckett Place, Grover Beach, obviously. I'm worried about the traffic, also the safety. What does the city have in place for fire department, police department? How are we going to get out of here in a tsunami? We're right in a tsunami zone. Where's our exits? What's going to go on? We can't get out right now. That's the tough part. You look at the freeway, we can't get out there. We can't go out Pismo. We can't go out Highway 1. And stoplights need to be put in on 4th Street. What's the plan on that? Who's taking care of the infrastructure that we're paying more for now to allow these buildings, these luxury buildings to go in? And what are they putting out? I mean, all these streets should be paved. I mean, we haven't had anything paved for, is the project still going on? You know, that we had our extra taxes paid for on that, but 4th Street's destroyed. And that's from out-of-town traffic, and they're not paying taxes. They're not even hitting our streets as our stores and stuff. So, but the safety is a huge thing. We've had about 5 people die on 4th Street in the last 8 years, and I don't know what the facts those are, but it may be more in 10 years, whatever. But it is just so dangerous. Like one of the ladies was talking about the pulling out on 4th Street. With Front Street loaded with all the houses, I mean, they've got they're going to have 2 cars per. We have like 500 cars we just added to the city of Grover Beach, and they're going to be running across Front Street, Brighton, Ramona, anywhere to get out up to Ocean View, all the cross streets. It is going to be a traffic nightmare, and they are already going fast in the residential streets. They're just going to be flying down. It's a dangerous spot to live. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I see a hand in the back. There was someone in the back.
Ladies first.
Okay.
I have some complaints, I guess.
Go ahead.
As a property owner, when there's a new project coming to town, we all seem to get our notices at the last minute. Within 300 feet, it's legal that we're supposed to be noticed. I'm really surprised that Grover Beach waits, and somehow we don't get them until maybe 3 days before a meeting, and we don't have time to, and if you have you don't have a project review meeting that we're noticed, that we can come and discuss anything and overlook the plans before it comes to you. Now, if they would have a project review committee and notice all of us, we could come and look at the plans ahead of time instead of showing up at the last minute and you guys go ahead and vote upon it and don't listen to us. And I think everybody in town would be much happier. But the way it's being handled right now is kind of backwards.
I think, was that Ms. McClure? Is that right? What was your first name?
Mary.
Mary. That was Mary McClure. Next, please.
Hi. My name is Rusty Doss. I've lived at corner of First and Front for almost 38 years now. Why am I wearing a Rio Grande football shirt to a Grover Beach Council meeting? Well, I was blessed to go to the first AG CIF championship 38 years ago down in 87 Burbank. I've gone to many of them. This is a small town. This whole area is a small town. It has small town values. It's Mayberry, RFD. It's not Santa Monica. I don't want Santa Monica going all the way down Grand Avenue. You know, that's not what we want here. Do we like the Dodgers? Most everybody likes the Dodgers. We don't like LA here. We moved away from LA, not LA, not the Bay. This is 5 cities. I hate what's happening. I've spoken before about it. There's got to be better ways to do this. There's better ways to keep the flavor of the town. It's dangerous. My neighbor talked about it. I'm across the street from Joy and Steve. We come out on 4th. It's dangerous. People are coming up. It says 35 miles per hour. They're going 45. You don't even see a car. You start to come out, and man, you got to floor it. That's a danger spot. And Butterfly Grove, danger, danger, danger spot. We have a lot of danger spots. People are going to be getting killed. You're just density maximizing our city. That's not why we moved here. That's not why I've lived here 38 years. That's not why I raised my kids here. This is a small town. I like a small town. I think most of us like a small town. So I pray that you guys will do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, how's everybody doing? I want to find out who took my parking spot out there. Just kidding. You guys make a lot of important decisions here in this planning commission. And I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not picking on you or anything, but I'd like to know what your qualifications are to be making these huge decisions. I've been in construction my whole life. Nobody says yes to everything. I mean, somebody has to argue things and you know, ask questions. The first one they built is leaning. It's actually favoring because they built it, they put like 2,300 tons on it, then they dig that big ditch on Grand Avenue 18 feet away from it. I have the measurements and the pictures to prove it. It's leaning. Now, I don't know if the building inspector catches these things. I don't even know if there is a building inspector. But obviously with this room being full, nobody really wants this stuff, but I don't know if they really know that decision's already been made from the council, correct? So we're just here taking up oxygen. Hopefully, in the future, you won't be doing these things. I was in 1975 in some of these ditches putting the laterals in the sewer line for my uncle. Everything was fine, but when you rezone, there's a gas station on that one, so he rezones it and puts 40 people on it. There's gas stations on a couple of those that weren't zoned to do this. So we're being told that the sewer is old, but that's not the truth. It needs to be larger because of all the people we're adding. Can you imagine 50 people, 50 homes, how much room that would take? We're the littlest city in the diameter there is. We have more population than Pismo, but we're compact. Everything you do here should be cheaper for the taxpayers than anywhere. We're compact. I drove around in 9 minutes. I've been here my whole life, graduated Roy Granny High School. That's why I'm rude, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. But, and everybody needs to think. I just wonder what your qualifications are to be making decisions like this. There should be, you know, people up there that understand building and understand how much water it's going to take. We're going to have a water problem. I've been here my whole life. This is going to be the worst problem we've ever had. They used to slow new growth down when we had a water problem. You didn't build. It was a moratorium because I was doing 2 houses. I had to wait for my name to be drawn. We all worked together on it. I built 5 in Grover Beach by itself. And none of this, we wouldn't even be at these meetings. Back then, everything would seem to be, not everybody said yes to everything. And it looks suspicious to people when everybody just says yes. Somebody has to argue something. Or it's getting out of control now, you know. And like 2 days ago, I went on the new one on 4th Street. I took pictures. I mean, this thing has to be leaking. When the envelope leaks, you have problems, mold. It's not our problem. It's going to be the builder's problem, but it's going to, you know, the homeowners will sue him, yada, yada, yada. But I took pictures of leaks everywhere, just walking. So the quality is not very good. Is that my cue to leave?
That's your 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Was there anyone else in the room that wanted to speak on general public comment? Yes, please come forward. And please give everyone their full time and attention. Thank you.
I wasn't going to speak for the general comments, but the gentleman mentioned gas stations. And so what I immediately thought about the oil drums that they found on 359 Front Street, which is the first Trinity project. So it contaminated the soil. And so one would ask, What did they do with that soil when it was contaminated? Well, yeah, they marched it down Front Street where they want to build another building. So is that soil being tested on a daily basis is my question. It's a problem that seems to have got a little news coverage and then it just went away. And I've been told by neighbors that they actually came in the middle of the night and took that soil to the San Luis dump. And it's supposed to go Kettleman City, thank you. I forgot about that, where it was going, but it was supposed to go out of town. So these are things that should be looked into. And I just wanted to make another comment that Debbie Peterson said the census seems to be going down. And so you might ask yourself, why in such a beautiful area is the census going down? That's because people buying a lot of these 500 square foot motel rooms don't live here. And so they're not part of the census. They're not sending their kids to the schools. I grew up in Santa Barbara. My elementary school is a community center because there's not enough people that can afford to live on Chapala Street anymore. So that could happen here. It's happening in Cayucas in real time. You go up to Cayucas, it's a ghost town because a lot of second and third homes. It's going to happen here if we don't be careful. So, we need housing. We need affordable housing for those that don't have the income. And we're short. We're short on that by 83 units. But we're not short on luxury homes. That quota has been met by double. So it's time to take a breath when we talk about future future homes and condos and townhomes. Think, do we really need this? Do we need it in an area where we're going to block our view sheds, which are guaranteed by the Coastal Act and when you're in the coastal zone? So I just think we just need to take a breath and go, let's be serious about this and let's not turn in to Huntington Beach. Thank you.
Sorry, sir, could you state your name and spelling as well?
Oh, Kelvin Koveduck.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for your comment. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Leela Page, and I'm a Grover Beach resident on 3rd Street. And first of all, I want to thank you guys for your time and patience in listening to all of us. I am personally not a homeowner. I've been here for 6 years. I'm renting in the area. I am a public school employee. I would love to be able to buy a home. I have not yet done that because I'm in my 50s and I want to retire someday. I can't do that with a $5,000 mortgage. So with that being said, as I watch the development go up and I'm seeing what's happening in the community, my question is as others have also proposed, how is this going to benefit the community? Because around me, where I am living, as Kelvin had already previously stated, I'm seeing many vacation homes. And so when I see these huge buildings coming up along Front Street, usually when I walk my dog, I'm a dog walker down Front Street. When I walk my dog, I can see these beautiful sunsets. And now where building number 1 is, it's blocked. Of course, I could go all the way down to the beach, but, again, that's a different scenario. But, my concern is this for as others have also proposed, is this for the public good? How are the Grover Beach residents going to benefit from this? Again, the housing is not necessarily affordable. It's blocking people who have bought residences, who did have nice, gorgeous views. And again, as other people have talked about, are the businesses going to be viable for the community? Or are they going to be trinket shops, right, for whatever? because that's what happens a lot of times in our tourism areas. And then also there comes down to the water as well that I'm concerned about. We've gotten some rain, yay, right? But that's something that has not always been the case. So again, I just compel you guys as council members who are making these decisions, again, to just consider what's in the best interest of the residents who are living here. And also, you know, being good stewards of the growth of Grover Beach, because we will grow, definitely. So it's just looking at how to do that most responsibly. And I understand there have been limits in the past, but 30 feet would be great. 3 stories. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak at general public comment who's in the room? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Sue Nibley, N-I-B-O-L-I, and I live in Grover Beach, and I remember when Grover Beach was Grover City, so I've been around for a little while. I won't take up very much time. In fact, I hesitated even saying anything, but I feel compelled to. I've been really interested watching the building go up and everything, and I have to tell you, I was very impressed with the first one till I just heard it's leaning. I didn't realize that. But there were a lot of L-beams up first, then the wood came in and everything. Really looked good construction, as little as I know about it. And then they started the second one, and I noticed, I'm by there almost every day, so I'm nosy. Very little metal went into that construction, and what did go in, you can still see it because they're leaving it open, so it looks impressive, but there's none on the rest of that building. When they put up the third one, there's not a drop of metal in it. All of the ones down on the railroad track, no metal. So I'm thinking, I don't know, if we have an earthquake or something, we'll probably have a lot of parking because anyway, I thought it would be interesting.
Thank you very much for your comment. Anyone else for general public comment? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Randy Pfizer. I'm at 340 Front Street. My parents bought the lot in 2 lots in 1959. The family's been there ever since. Steve's my neighbor, and I coached him in football at Roy Grandy High School, of course. I have one big question. I know you can't answer questions, but I'll follow up on this. But the one thing that amazes me the most is that I've heard that the change in height was done during COVID, where there was no public input. I'm going to find out for sure. I know there's a lot of opinions. If that's the case, it should be relooked at because it wasn't. It didn't get enough public comment, public opinion on it, in my opinion, because this is the public comment. And now that we know, I've met a whole bunch of neighbors that I didn't know before because we all kind of were in our little houses enjoying the sunset. There was a beautiful one tonight, just beautiful. And I think that's something that should be looked at. Also, a personal experience, my old fraternity house at Cal Poly about 10 years ago burned almost to the ground. It was a 2-story with a tall pitch, Victorian shape, so they couldn't safely get on the roof with ladders. The fire truck was broke down. They could have saved it in 5 minutes.
Thank you very much for your comment. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak in general public comment? I see. I don't think we're able to answer questions at this time, so let's continue with public comment, and we'll. There are many parts of this meeting, so let's continue with public comment.
Hi, I'm Carrie Randolph, and I live at 1310 Sierra Drive in Arroyo Grande, so I'm not part of Grover Beach. But I've lived in this area since 1989, and I love this area. Watched it grow from a little farm town to what it is today, and I wasn't aware of what was going on at Grover Beach until I started reading the Nextdoor app. And then I became very concerned. And I also had read that, yeah, this all started happening and changing during COVID, which I think is really deceptive when we were all locked away. And it's just really upsetting. And so I concur with all of the statements that have been tonight. So I'll make it short. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Who else in the room? Yes, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Marcia Frazier. I live on Capitola, which isn't even near where all these buildings are going up. It's just that I can't drive anywhere. I've lived in Grover Beach for 40 years, so I've seen a lot of changes, some good, some not so good. I'm not opposed to change as much as I am to the pace of change that's happening with these buildings that are going up. I'm not somebody who thinks the architecture looks good anyway. I think unless you like the Bauhaus movement, I think they're just big blocks. But I'm concerned because you're talking about the retail on the bottom floors. I noticed the Bee House is going to be moving there. I love the Bee House, but I'm not going to the Bee House anymore because there's no place to park. And there won't be any place to park. And it will be dangerous to even try to parallel park if it's on Grand or even on the side streets. I don't understand how this was approved and without any kind of forethought as to what effect it was going to have. I agree with people who said it's not for the community. I don't know who it's for exactly, but it's not for the community. The units are way more expensive than any local person could afford. And we do need housing for many of the people who live in Grover, or as I used to call it, Groovy Grover, affectionately, because it's always been an interesting community. There have been different levels of income, different ethnic groups, some sort of grandiose homes that people have built, some cute little cottages that used to be fishing cottages, I imagine, back in the day. Those are the people who may need some help with housing. I don't see that we need to make this Newport Beach. Someone said Huntington Beach, same thing. Where you can't see the ocean anymore. And it used to be beautiful there too. I'm from LA, so I know bad development, trust me. I was born and raised there. I've seen what happened to my little community of Mount Washington where I grew up. I think it's a shame, and I'm so sorry that this is happening, and apparently it's a fait accompli, and I don't know what we can do about it at this point. But please think long and hard about whatever buildings are coming up. I saw a diagram of future buildings by the same builder. It's a travesty, honestly. This little community was one of the last affordable communities in California along the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room that wanted to speak for general public comment? I've got one more over here.
Hi, my name is Diane Mead. I own a house on 3rd Street in Grover Beach. I was part of a group of people that formed the Northeast Grover Beach Association to counteract the height limits that Brad Ford was going to do on his Front Street development. We worked with the council, we worked with the commission, we brought in the Coastal Commission. When we came to a deal and the height limit was set, and I thought it was good. I don't know what you did to overturn it, but I think you did wrong.
Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak for general public comment? I'm not seeing any more hands. Is there anyone on the phone line?
Yes,
we know that you're there. We'd love to hear from you.
We have Pamela Storton.
Go ahead,
Hi,
Ms. Storton.
good evening.
Good evening. Chairman, thank you. Thank you for allowing the people to express themselves and not cutting them off. That's much appreciated. I just wanted to remind everyone that you do have the freedom of speech at the meetings, and it is your right to speak. You do not have to give your name. So when you've been asked what your name is, it's not required that you give it. Also, the commissioners, you have the freedom of speech. Policy may tell you that you can't talk to the public or you can't ask them questions, although the community development director asked somebody a question what their name was. You have the right also for freedom of speech over policy that stops you from talking to the community in these meetings, making everybody agendize items in order to have a discussion. Many of these buildings and things happening within the community could have been transparent. There could have been community meetings. You'd have a lot less angry people in the town if you did allow that, and met with people up front and gave them an overall picture instead of doing many things behind the scenes or semi-behind the scenes. Also, I'd just like to talk about the parking and the safety issues. There has been an attempt to social engineer people out of their cars. It's not working. It's not working in Grover Beach. And one of the reasons I believe the developers' parking has been limited, because you can't make money off of parking. And building, you can't sell parking spaces. So they're using the space for higher density, bonuses, and limiting the parking on site. I think that the community has had enough of it, and we need to turn this around so it's fair to all the people. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening with an open heart.
Thank you very much, Ms. Storton. Is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, Lauren Westfall.
Go ahead, Mr. Westfall, or Ms. I'm not sure.
It's Mrs.
Yes.
It's Mrs. Westfall.
Okay.
So everybody's talking about the 5-story buildings, the shoddy construction. Some people mentioned the oil barrels that were on 197, where they're building the trilogy. However, nobody's pointed out how the city is going to be responsible when methane gas, because there's still oil in the ground, is going to be seeping into those homes. The city is aware of it. The city is aware that the construction people hid it, mixed it in the dirt, and stuck it in our landfill. Newport Beach, since we've talked about Huntington Beach and Newport Beach 1 month ago is now experiencing methane gas. Napomo is experiencing oil seepage into their homes. These are things that Grover Beach needs to consider, because it's going to be more lawsuits over and over if we don't stop this building and clean up the ground before we build. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment. Are there any others on the line?
No, there's not.
Okay. So I will close public comment. Let me find my agenda here. We did that. Ah, yes. Okay. So I will close public comment. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and sharing your opinions with us. It does matter that you are able to express yourselves. So we're closing public comment on that. Moving on to the next thing on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. In this case, it is just the minutes from the previous meeting. However, is there any member of the public who wishes to address the commission on the item listed under the consent agenda? If so, you can call in at 805-321-6639. Is there anyone in the room who wanted to speak to the consent agenda? I'm not seeing any hands. Anyone online?
No, there's not.
Okay. I suppose I probably should have opened and closed comment. Open. Close. Very good. So I do need a motion for a voice vote for the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
I will second her motion.
We have a first and a second. This is a voice vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We now go to the public hearing item. As a reminder, if you would like to call, this is item number 2, which I will read in just a moment. As a reminder, if you would like to call in for public comment on this item, please call in at 805-321-6639. Item 2 is development application DA 25-0012, also tentative parcel map GB-25-0012. The applicant is Madreen Kirby, and Senior Planner Kyle Bell will give us a presentation.
All right, thank you so much. So for our first item tonight, we'll be reviewing the request for a tentative parcel map to subdivide an existing half-acre property into 2 parcels located at 1825 Brighton Avenue. The applicant has submitted the request to subdivide the half-acre parcel, resulting in 2 parcels. Parcel 1 would be approximately 16,000 square feet in size, and parcel 2 would be about 9,910 square feet. And the access to both parcels would be provided through Brighton Avenue. This subdivision would divide the 2 existing detached single-family residences, would be each on their own respective lots. No grading, development, or construction is proposed with this application. Sorry, I'm fighting over the mouse right now. Thank you. All right, so the project site is located along Brighton Avenue near the intersection of Brighton and North Oak Park Boulevard. The half-acre property lies within the medium-density residential zone, and the site is currently developed with 2 single-family residences and a few accessory structures. The surrounding land uses include a religious facility to the north, multifamily residences to the east, the Arroyo Grande city limit line to the south, and the single-family residences to the west. The proposed project is consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan. The proposed tentative parcel map would create 2 parcels consistent with the site's medium-density residential land use, and that preserves the site's residential capacity and supports long-term general plan goals by maintaining development potential without reducing density or introducing constraints. The proposed tentative parcel map has been designed to align with the existing fence line between the 2 residences, and is consistent with the neighborhood pattern. The project complies with all applicable developments and subdivision standards for the applicable zone. The proposed project is also category exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act. The required findings for the exemption have been provided in the resolution. And tonight's recommendation is to find the project consistent with the general plan and development code and approve the project as proposed, subject to the findings and conditions outlined in the resolution. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to the commission if you have questions for staff. So I will start in alphabetical order, which I always have to write down because we have 3 H's. So Commissioner Halverson, do you have any questions for staff?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Hoffman?
No questions.
Commissioner Holden?
No questions.
Vice Chair Swift?
I have just one. What was the history of this property that left it as a single APN with 2 dwellings on it?
I believe about 5 years ago, there was like a smaller second unit on the property that got a building permit was approved to expand it and provide an addition to make it what it is today. It was recently given final occupancy, I think last year. But as for its original configuration and its size, I don't have any background information on that. But this would be the first subdivision being proposed for the property.
But it was a conforming use as it was.
Oh yes, because it's a medium density residential zone, so it's allowed for multi-units on a property.
Okay. So if maybe this is a question for afterwards, but with this split, does that then open up both of those separate APNs to further development within the new ADU laws? for their own dedicated ADUs?
Not necessarily. Both depends on the process. There's so many procedures with ADU law, but the residential density of the properties would remain the same because the size isn't changing. So you just taking taking one property and dividing it into two, the same square footage would apply to the residential density of the zone, which is 9 density units per acre. And so that would still be allowed for both sites. And then in addition, ADUs would be available, whether it's a multifamily housing project or a single family housing project. Overall, the number of ADUs would be determined on how many units are on the property. And there's a lot of other requirements that we'd have to evaluate. So I don't have the exact number.
Yeah, it gets more complicated because it's a higher density zoning. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And then my question was related to that. Oh, because this is an R2 or medium density, this is not a Senate Bill 9 lot split, or that's not what this is.
Correct. SB 9 applications aren't subject to public hearings, so we wouldn't be presenting here if it was, but this is a standard subdivision.
Okay.
Right down to the bones.
Thank you very much. I will now open the public hearing for item 2, which is this subdivision. Is there anyone in the room? I do have one slip who wants to speak to item 2. I have Randy Pfizer.
Chairman, let's start with the applicant or the agent.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. The applicant will come forward first.
I believe the applicant is on the phone line.
Okay. Deep breath.
Ron Riley.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ron Riley, the civil engineer representing the property owner at 1825 Brighton Avenue. Thank you, Kyle. Fantastic report. Thank you, staff, for your thorough review and for confirming that this tentative parcel map is fully consistent with the city's general plan, development code, and subdivision regulations. This is a straightforward subdivision of an existing 0.59 acre site that already contains 2 legally established residences. No new development, grading, or construction is proposed. The map aligns with the medium density residential designation, maintains the site's existing residential capacity, and fits the surrounding neighborhood's lot pattern. Both resulting parcels meet or exceed minimum lot size width, depth, and access standards. Our goal is simply to establish 2 legal parcels that reflect the way the property has long functioned, while ensuring full compliance with city standards. We appreciate the Commission's consideration and respectfully request your support for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so at this point, we do allow the commissioners to ask questions of the applicant. So I will again start down the roster. Commissioner
I have no
Halverson?
questions of the applicant.
Commissioner Hoffman?
No questions.
Commissioner Holden? No question. Vice Chair Swift?
No questions.
And I do not have any questions. Now we get to the people in the room, and I do have Randy Pfizer, your name for this item on a slip. Number 3, the pre-application development? Okay. Then no. Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak on item 2?
Brenda Auer once more.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. I see you really listening and thinking and making efforts to hear what the people have to say. I want to know, is this property on one sewer? Does it have 2 separate sewers? Is the real goal to bring in more ADUs onto the property? There's got to be something else. Or are they trying to just sell the property, keep one house, sell the other? These would be the kind of questions I would like you to think about asking, please. And back to just giving a seal of approval without asking questions, that's not what you're here for. Please investigate. These decisions you're making tonight are decisions 5 years, 10 years from now. Some of these people might be really angry personally at you for not asking the questions. I want to address Marcia's issue about the elevator, and the reason I am is because we've had so many things we've heard. Go back and look at the other meetings. Oversight. Oops. We didn't take into consideration the elevator, so now we have to go back and change the rules. Oops. oversight. I've heard it in the last 2 months, probably 4 times.
Ms. Auer, may I redirect you to comments on item 2, please?
Absolutely, but these are part of the issues, asking questions, doing your own investigating, because it's not up to us to do that. That's why you're here, please, I ask you. As far as this goes, I would like to know what the real underlying is. Are there going to be 2 sewer bills? Or is there going to be one? Is it on one sewer line? I haven't seen the plans, so I don't know. I don't know if we're even privy to those plans. Maybe they are online, but I don't see them in the packet I have tonight. So thank you. Please consider that and realize, please, how important the decisions that you made, and maybe going back and looking at some of the decisions that were made during COVID when people were trying to survive and not paying close attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak to item 2 in the room? I have one person at the back there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rusty Doss. The talk about the ADUs, the talk about the heights. I wonder how tall buildings are going to be able to be built on this. The parking, as you split and you put on ADUs, there's more and more parking problems, and the sewer. I've forgotten, not really forgotten, but I lived through a nightmare via Grover Beach, January 2nd, I think, 2003. We had monster storms. I was at work, my house flooded, sewage flooded from the bathroom in the back, all the way through my carpet, all the way through my house. My wife was out of town, thank God. I had to take a vacation day the next day. I sucked out with my wet dry vac 165 gallons of sewage out of my house. I had to redo my house. Looked at the manhole the next day, it was within 6 foot of the street. The houses on 2nd and 3rd were overbuilt. First got the brunt of it with the big storms. That's going to happen in the future. I was advised not to sue. I had pictures, I wound up just doing it myself. You got to take these things into consideration. Water, we all had to pony up a lot of money for water, and now we have all these units, they're taking water. You know, we didn't get rebates when we started getting, you know, more water supply, but we're building like crazy. So just that for all these kind of projects, look at everything, look at the big picture, not just the small, and then it cuts off the view, it cuts off the breeze, and yeah, be careful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak to item 2 in the room? I'm not seeing any hands. Is there anyone else online?
No, there's not.
Did we have supplemental correspondence for item 2? I don't believe I saw any.
No, we did not.
We did not. All right, I will close public comment for this. And hearing no further comments, I will close the public hearing and let the commissioners provide comments on the report. This is where we talk to each other. So the previous one was where we're talking to staff. Do any of the commissioners, and I'll call on you individually, want to speak about item 2? So Commissioner Halverson.
So I believe that the applicant has a perfect right to subdivide, and we have no right to demand him an explanation of why he's doing it. He has a right to do it. So based on that, I don't have any concerns with approving this.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
I agree.
Commissioner Holden?
I agree.
Vice Chair Swift?
I would just actually like to hear an answer to Ms. Auer's question. I think that's a relevant question regarding sewer water to a property that seems to come up with a lot of developments. Or are we setting this to be another one of those ones that always comes back with the question of what do they do about sewer and water? Is it 2 sewer lines, 2 water lines, or 1 sewer line, 1 water line serving both APNs?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the project was recently approved for new development, so it did have some new public improvements associated with that application, which did include a new sewer line to the remodeled house, and so Both houses have their own sewer lines. However, our city policy is that we only provide one water meter per property, and so right now they're on a shared water meter. Once the subdivision is complete, they'd be eligible to apply for a separate water meter for the second house.
Eligible but not required to install it.
Correct.
So then, again, is the owner aware of this going on with the city in many other locations where there are multiple residents being fed with one meter and the billing is kind of wonky in terms of how they get billed? It's been an ongoing question.
Can you clarify the question for me?
Yeah, it sounds like we're setting this owner up for the same ongoing problem that other dwellings have had, where they have a multi-residence on a single meter, and the water billing has never been resolved to the satisfaction of the
I can
owners.
answer that. Community Development Director Megan Martin, that information would be something that they need to work through with our Public Works and City Engineering Department. It's not something that the Planning Department or Community Development Department would be responsible for. To our knowledge, they're aware of the requirements and what is needed. What they choose to do following the subdivision is entirely up to them. It's not for us to control, as it's not mandated. But if they come in for their public improvements or they come in to split that water meter, the city engineer will have a conversation with them as to what the impacts of that will be.
But they will be allowed to put in another water meter.
If they so choose, correct. It's two separate APNs, two separate legal parcels once the final map's recorded.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any other questions about this item. So that leads us to a motion. Do I have a motion approving the tentative parcel map GB 25-0012 and development application DA 25-0012?
Okay, you read the whole thing for me, but I'll do it again.
Sorry.
I move that we adopt the resolution approving tentative parcel map GB 25-0012, application DA 25-0012.
I'll second. Clerk Rakana, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Halverson?
Yes.
Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Swift?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We are at 7:20, and the next item, I think we'll have a lot of discussion. Do we want a bio break now, or do we want to take a break in between, or kind of pause in the middle?
I vote we push through.
Should we push through for a while?
I
Maybe
agree.
go, if we get to
A while.
8, maybe we take a break then? All right, sounds great. Moving on to regular business items. This is not a public hearing, but we do allow public comment. Do I have the wording on that correctly? Okay.
That's right.
So, as a reminder, if you would like to call in for public comment on item 3, please call in at 805-321-6639. We're moving on to pre-application PRE-24-0001. The applicant is Coastal Community Builders and Brad Ford, and we have a presentation from Senior Planner Kyle Bell.
Thank you again. All right, good evening. And tonight, up next, we have a conceptual project for the city's preliminary review and comments. This type of project is an early review and is processed as a pre-application, which is intended solely to introduce the project and gather initial feedback. There are no decisions being made tonight. Your role is to review the concept and offer comments that will help guide the applicant before they prepare a formal submittal. And tonight's review is not a recommendation for approval or denial. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give the applicant the early guidance and the Commission's comments that can help clarify which development and design standards are prioritized, as well as whether any changes or alternatives should be considered and any additional information needed in preparation of a formal application. The conceptual project consists of a mixed residential and commercial development that includes 28 3-bedroom townhomes and 2 mixed-use buildings. The townhomes are 3 stories in height and each include a private rooftop deck. Each of the mixed-use buildings are also 3 stories with about 1,500 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor and 4 two-bedroom condominium units on the upper floors. The project is located along Front Street between Ramona Avenue and Newport Avenue intersections. The 1.44 acre property is located within the Coastal Industrial Commercial Zoning District and within the coastal zone. The northern portion of the site is already developed with the Grover Beach Tech Center and is not part of this pre-application review. The southern portion, which is currently vacant, is the area proposed for this development. Surrounding uses include commercial, industrial uses to the north, a mix of multifamily and industrial uses to the east, the Trinity mixed-use project to the south, and Union Pacific Railroad and Highway 1 corridor to the west. The townhomes have been arranged in groups of arranged in 4 groups, each containing 7 units. Each of the townhomes includes a tandem 2-car garage with additional parking provided in on-site surface lots. One of the mixed-use buildings is located at the southern end of the property near Ramona Avenue, while the second is located near the middle of the site, positioned across from Front Street and Brighton Avenue intersection. The mixed-use structures are proposed at the maximum 40-foot building height and do not include any private rooftop decks or rooftop uses. The site plan is designed around the property's long frontage along Front Street. Key features include primary access from Front Street across from Brighton Avenue and secondary access positioned near Ramona Avenue. A drive aisle has been provided along the east side of the property that serves the garages and parking areas. The buildings are oriented towards Front Street with surface parking strategically located to preserve views from public streets. Staff has prepared several discussion items to help guide the Commission's comments this evening. The first item focuses on land use compatibility and whether there are opportunities to strengthen the project's fit with adjacent uses and neighborhood character. The site is zoned commercial, industrial, commercial, which allows for mixed-use development with a use permit. The general plan designates the property as visitor-serving mixed use, which encourages ground floor commercial with residential or office uses above. The Land Use Element Policy 6.8 also identifies the Front Street corridor as a transitioning from traditional industrial uses towards moving towards visitor-serving and mixed-use environment. The next discussion item focuses on architectural style. Staff is seeking the Commission's input on which style or design elements best support the desired character of the corridor and any opportunities for the project to better integrate with the surrounding streetscape and community context. The general plan does not prescribe a single architectural style, but encourages a variety of expressions that collectively contribute to the Grover Beach community's character. For mixed-use and multi-unit developments, the emphasis is on creating human-scaled, visually engaging buildings that support pedestrian activity, particularly in coastal areas. The applicant has provided 5 conceptual styles as options for the Commission's review. These are preliminary framework ideas that showcases the project's massing, facade details, and roof forms, and material palettes. The applicant will go into more detail on each of these options in their presentation, and we will also have extra slides for each of these styles as backup during discussion if necessary. And for the next discussion item, we are seeking the Commission's input on how the project addresses the city's objective design standards and whether there are opportunities to further enhance pedestrian orientation, site functionality, or neighborhood compatibility. The objective design standards promote high-quality site planning and building design, including pedestrian-friendly frontages, functional open spaces, and proper screening of parking areas. Compliance with these standards will be formally reviewed when the application is submitted. However, the applicant's preliminary design includes several features intended to respond to these standards, such as orienting the building towards Front Street and providing pedestrian pathways and open spaces and locating the parking where it can be effectively screened. The final discussion item focuses on the site's configuration and building orientation and view corridors. The key question is whether the layout effectively balances the pedestrian orientation, circulation, and views. Because the site is long and narrow along Front Street, the layout is critical for the circulation and pedestrian activity. Coastal development encourages maintaining view corridors where feasible, but avoiding excessive visual bulk. In response, the applicant has oriented the buildings towards the Front Street with vehicle access and parking in the rear. The townhomes are grouped with gaps to provide visual openings towards the ocean, and surface parking is positioned to preserve views from the public cross streets. While only objective design standards can apply under the Housing Accountability Act, the pre-application process provides an opportunity for early feedback on how the site layout could be refined to better support neighborhood compatibility and overall design intent. After receiving the Commission's feedback on the design, the applicant will be preparing a formal application submittal. Once submitted, the city staff will review the application for completeness and compliance with applicable standards. Once deemed complete, the project will return to the Planning Commission for a public hearing and formal consideration. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions. Oh yes, and the applicant is available as well for their presentation.
Let me find my place here. Great. We're moving on to, do any commissioners have any questions for staff? I will call on you individually based on that small presentation.
Yeah,
Commissioner Halverson.
well, the presentation was really about how we are going to try to get feedback back from the commission. And I guess I'm still a little confused about the order that that's going to go. Is staff going to make I mean, you have several specific items you want to discuss and get feedback on. Are you going to take those one at a time now? How are we going to do this?
Oh, no problem. Yeah, in previous experiences, it's best to, during discussion, take them one at a time.
Okay.
These 4 discussion items are really just going to kind of frame the discussion. You're not limited to just discussing these 4 items. If there's other things the commission wants to talk about, or if you're not interested in talking about any of these 4 items, we can skip them all entirely. But this helps staff kind of align with the discussion so that we can track your feedback and provide that to the applicant and take notes.
And you mentioned the applicant has a presentation as well. Is he going to go through those individual topics and then we can discuss them and give feedback? Is that the idea?
Yeah, the applicant has a presentation to provide more context about the project proposal as well as cover those architectural style options. And having both presentations might help further address any questions or prepare the discussion. So we're open to questions now for staff, or if you want to have the applicant's presentation and the questions for staff and the applicant, both could work.
Okay, and one last question. How does the public input work into this? Are we going to invite public comment as each item is discussed?
Yeah,
or we don't wait to the end, or?
No, sorry. Hi, Community Development Director Megan Martin. The item will run as it would if it were a regular public hearing. So we'll allow the applicant to come up, provide their presentation. Public comment can be taken all at once, and your commission can take that into consideration, and afterwards with deliberations, ask any additional questions you may have.
Now I get the flavor of this. So we're going to go ahead and listen to the applicant's presentation, and then we'll listen to public comment, and then it'll come back to the commission. And we'll try to cover those specific items plus any other ones we want to discuss. Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay,
and just as a reminder overall for the commission, there has been a lot of feedback from the community as well as from your commission on recent approvals of projects regarding the architectural design, character, and the quality of or the lack in quality of design as we move forward with these different larger mixed-use projects. And so the applicant heard that and wanted to come to you this evening to present the design alternatives and request feedback as to what is that Grover Beach character? What exactly are we looking for, and what can we put into the design of this development so that it is more palatable and welcomed in the community and more compatible?
Okay, and I appreciate that response. I guess the other part I would comment to is that this format is more casual, I think, than the formal hearing will be later on, and so I'm going to certainly make comments that aren't necessarily required by our development code or anything else, just suggestions to the applicant about things that I see and suggestions that I might have, whereas later when the formal application is made, we'll have to stick strictly to what we can enforce per the development code and the statutes.
That's great. That's exactly what the platform tonight is for. So we welcome any and all comments for the developer to consider.
Thank
you. Hey, Commissioner Hoffman, did you have any questions for staff at this time?
I didn't have any questions. I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Halverson for clarifying all those things for us. And I did have a comment on the options that were provided for what it would look like. I thought that was really helpful visual tool for us to imagine, since we're often only shown one or two options. It's nice to have more examples, so I appreciate that.
Commissioner Holden, any questions for staff?
I have no questions for staff.
Vice Chair Swift?
I have a question for Mr. Bell. In your first or second paragraph, you said something about no rooftop access. Was that only on the two mixed-use proposals, or was it across the whole development?
Correct. The current proposal only has rooftop access for the townhomes. Mixed-use structures have no rooftop access, no rooftop uses. And I should note that the stair towers and no elevator towers, but stair towers for the townhomes are within the maximum height of 40 feet for the zone.
So the top of the stair tower is at 40 feet?
Oh, 39 feet, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And I had one question, which may or may not be appropriate for this moment, but this coastal industrial commercial zone, so the mixed use will require a use permit. Is that correct?
Correct.
What are the uses, or can you give us kind of other things that could be built here without a use permit? And would they have the same height requirements and other things?
Yes, maximum allowable height within the coastal industrial commercial zone is 40 feet. There are other uses that are permissible without a use permit, subject to zoning clearance, but mixed use is not one of them.
So things like manufacturing or
correct. We so our development code
hotel or
yeah. So off the top of my head, I don't know every single land use that's permissible through zoning clearance versus a use permit, which requires Planning Commission discretion. But Chapter 2, our development code. Of our development code has an outline of allowable uses. It'll either be a UP for use permit or a P for permissible, which is the zoning clearance Requirement. We're happy to read some of those off for you if you'd like, but
I think it would be helpful to understand
Sure.
what else might go in this space if we don't do if not a mixed use option.
yes, subject to the property owner wanting to
Exactly.
build what it is.
So if the property owner didn't want to build mixed use, what else might they be building?
Okay. Yeah, I can list out a few.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I'll try to avoid listing all of them. All right, so let's start with the industrial manufacturing and processing categories. So for instance, a high technology use would be permissible at this location. Manufacturing for artisans or light manufacturing would also be appropriate, or warehouse storage. Moving on to all recreational activities would require a use permit, so nothing would be allowed outright. For retail, we have general retail, and restaurants would require a use permit. And then under services, catering services would be permissible, office uses would be permissible, and small equipment repair would be allowed. And that's it. There's maintenance services such as like silent client services would require use permits, and any hotel use would require a use permit.
Okay, but any of those structures could be 40 feet. That 40 feet is for that
Correct.
zoning. Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. That was all the questions I had for that part. All right, so we've responded to the staff report. We are going to open it up for public comment and start with the applicant or agent. Please come forward.
Chair, Commissioners, thank you so much. My name is Scott Martin. I am the agent for the applicant tonight. I am a principal at RRM Design Group, and I feel like Joe on the edge of the volcano right now. So pretty excited to be here tonight. Kyle, am I able to get a couple slides?
Bear with us as we face technology real quick.
No worries, no worries. I do want to echo some of the sentiment. Love the opportunity to be in a little more casual setting with a dialogue, an opportunity to get feedback. We've done this on all the projects that CCB has worked on in Grover Beach, is come out ahead of time before the formal submittal and allow a chance for public and yourselves to give feedback. And we think each time it's made the project better. Not everybody may love those projects, but I think the engaging commission and the engaging public have made the projects better, and that's our hope and intent out of tonight. So looking forward to that. As staff mentioned, we're here on Front Street. Can I go through these? Does this work? Hey, we're getting a little bit of double slides there, so on the bottom you're just seeing that. But I just want to give you a quick site overview, sort of talk about the adjacent project that I think many know as 197 Grand or Trinity, and then sort of the long-term planning vision of West Grand Avenue that I think has been discussed in a variety of ways here tonight. I want to talk about the circulation and parking specific to this site plan and what's envisioned by the applicant. The building design, as I think that's been a much more hot topic lately, and then show you some quick plans themselves, and then open myself up for any questions that you may have of either the agent or the applicant. Project sites, I thought staff member Bell did a great job of sort of highlighting this. You know, I just want to say this is infill at its best, right? This is a vacant lot. You can see it on the left of the image up above, and it's on the edge of a lot of fringe sort of context. So to, well, I'll say left, to our west, we have the railroad tracks, which is a unique dynamic, something we learned a little bit about on 197 and constantly learning more. To the south of this is the Trinity project that's been approved. That kind of goes out to the edge of Ramona and Front. The first couple of properties there on Front Street towards Ramona are true sort of industrial type feeling. You can see them on the upper right slide image. And then even though the zoning gets a little fuzzy, most of the rest of the frontage along Front Street becomes single-family residential and a residential capacity of different sorts. So kind of this like crossroads transitional site, something that's not at all what is, you know, happening on Grand Avenue, but not quite single-family. Even the zoning starts to indicate that, as Chairman sort of questioned and alluded. There's a lot of kind of tweener things that would fit here, whether a use permit for a hotel, a car stereo repair. There's a lot of things that could fit here, and yet this site's sat vacant for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And I think there's some real challenges about all of that, about its location, about its accessibility, about how sort of off the beaten path it really is. And that's why when the applicants started looking at it, they really liked it as a potential to sort of elongate what had been happening at 197. For those of you who were here and or who are getting up to speed with 197, down towards the bottom of the page by the blue area there, that's the mixed-use building. That's where there's ground floor, retail, restaurant, that kind of environment, pedestrian engaging, like the West Grand Avenue Master Plan really talks about and is enticing the highest and biggest intensity there at Grand Avenue. This then steps down, the project at Trinity steps down to a 3-story project for the townhomes that go along the track. And what we saw and even heard from the plan, from the long-term planning document, is that sort of transitional zone as it comes back into the neighborhood. So we thought that was a great sort of guiding light. I color-coded this a little bit more than the slide Kyle had, but this is the site plan. I'm sorry, the nature of the site just makes me keep spinning in circles. I hope you're not as dizzy as I am. Right now, Highway 1 and the railroad are to the page south, bottom of the page. And then so you can see that the buildings themselves, the two pink on this screen, being the small scale mixed use, an opportunity for an office or a small retail. The retail market, I think, on this street is going to really struggle. So finding the right mix, whether it's maybe a chiropractor or something like that, there's a number of sort of small professional office and those sorts of things that might fit in really well here. It's not somebody who needs a lot of drive-by traffic. That's not going to be accommodated. There's just the lack of visibility. So those are the two smaller pink buildings. They've got smaller units by square footage and thusly by size above them. And then the townhome buildings are arranged in these series of 7 units attached together. And I just wanted to highlight a couple things that we thought were in keeping with sort of city policy and guidance. They all have a front porch. They all have a front stoop, a yard, a place to take your dog out or cats. Visually, you can see their front door and create a pedestrian environment, sit on the porch, drink lemonade, engage with your neighbors, those sorts of things. The garage doors are all to the rear of the site. So you see no garage doors from the street. That helps echo that sort of emphasis on the pedestrian instead of the car, instead of the vehicle. So you come around the back. I'm going to kind of highlight that here. The 2 large blue arrows are how you would enter the site via a car, and you come around and receive garage access on the back side. So the sort of rear end, if you will, of the building, which is what's facing the railroad itself. Then most of the living space and bedrooms are on the floors above. So it helps deal with some of the sound mitigation. It helps reinforce the idea of pedestrian engagement along Front Street. We think it's a very appropriate design for the site. It's very different than what we did right next door, which doesn't have that at all. So looking for feedback, hoping to entertain that. As staff mentioned, this meets all the development code. Like, we're not asking for exceptions or reductions or variances, or we're trying to provide what is in alignment with the long-term vision of Grover Beach. So I look forward to that feedback today and how we may meet that. So I think that was sort of the first part of what Kyle was getting at. The second part really being architectural design. So I'm going to try to touch upon architectural character for a couple minutes. Here's some imagery from the Trinity or 197 project that we heard some feedback last time we were here. Can't we get some more colors? Can't we get some more materials? We're excited about a little bit more vibrancy. To the applicant's credit, they really did want to explore some variation. I think anybody in this room would have a hard time saying, what is the quintessential Grover Beach? As an architect, it's something I care about, whether you think I do or not. It matters. This is also my community of 3 decades plus. This is my backyard, and I really do want something of great quality. So we explored a number of varieties here. We heard less modern. We don't want the modern. We don't want the white and gray. We looked at some variations on that, all of which can be found right here in Grover Beach. So we pulled from local context, a contextual vernacular, if you will. The first being a sort of Spanish mission style, mission revival style, and we applied that. We're showing just the townhome building here, so this is 7 units broken up. What we worried about, I like the Spanish style. I think it's great. It's known to all. It's a comfort level. It was well received when we did a little bit of marketing research, but it is a large single building that isn't particularly articulated or broken down based on the stylistic sort of hierarchy. So it's all white. It has all the same roof type. It has some variation in where those roofs happen and what the porches look like, but it could be seen as what we worried about to be too massive, too bulky. We also played with what we called the beach cottage look. That's the upper right. So using some sort of materials that bind, some lap siding, some of that more coastal sort of beach colors, the light blues, exposed rafter tails, standing seam roof, things like that. And then we hearkened back on the third option and said, well, this is the industrial style. It's called out. You can see all around there are some very boxy buildings, but not only that, there are some very sort of working man buildings. There's some metal siding. There's some brick elements. We heard in previous conversations, can we get more material variation? Can we get more colors? Can we get more materials? Can they be more than just stucco? Can it be wood, more than just wood? What else is there? And so what we alluded to in this last image here is sort of a eclectic mix of all of those. There is brick in varying colors, more than one. There is horizontal siding, there is vertical siding, and there is stucco. Variety of colors, and really an emphasis placed on trying to identify the individual unit as opposed to applying something to the overall building that makes it feel more massive. So really looking at how to break down and articulate those individual units. What that's done so far and what we're showing from a conceptual level, again, is that quality pedestrian street scene. There is parking right at the front door for the commercial and any guests, and then there is parking for each unit around the back. This exceeds the required parking numbers that the city asks for. So a couple just sort of concept sketch of what Front Street may look like. And how this fits in with what your development code seems to be looking towards. So the plans are very similar to Trinity. They're like a shotgun unit, something we've seen all over. I have tandem parking myself at my house. It's just one person's in the garage and I'm in the driveway in front of them. That's I have to move if my wife wants out. That's how it works. So it's not an uncommon scenario in most single-family developments. It's just these are both in the garage in that same scenario. It also gives you an extra wide garage. You got lots of storage space for the surfboards and the e-bikes and all that kind of beach cruiser stuff. The stairs do go up. Like I said, most of your living is on the second floor, bedrooms on the third. So excited about these plans. I think there's definitely, I've already had a couple of my own employees going, this is the DINK, this is the young family, this is the new definition of single family because they can't afford single family. So it is not a traditional housing tract, and that's not what we think this in particular site is set up for and appropriate for. So trying to find that happy medium between density and housing. So happy to answer any questions. I think operationally we're here if you have any particulars. But I think commissioners, I'm here and available as needed.
Okay, so how this is going to go is the commissioners will ask questions of the applicant at this point, right? That's what I have here on my list. And then we will open it to public comment. And we will, if you do ask questions during your public comment, we will hold them to the end and then try to address them. But we don't want to interrupt your 3 minutes. So I will move on to questions from the commissioners to the applicant. Commissioner Helverson.
Okay, so I'm going to split my questions up from my comments, is that right?
Well, there are the things we'll talk about amongst ourselves after public comment, right?
Well, trying to answer
Okay.
the discussion items, right, that staff laid out?
Yes, we could do that after the public comment.
After the public comment, okay, good enough. So questions to the applicant. Well, first of all, I like the idea of creating many smaller residential units in the city. Obviously, that affects the price of each unit. And we need the more affordable housing units. And hopefully that will help drop the housing costs for the city and the area. It's a different approach from Trinity. You stepped back the buildings, you already mentioned that, away from the railroad line. And hopefully that helps with the sound that they're going to experience. So that's probably a good thing. The shotgun design, I'm not a huge fan, but that's not really a question. I'm getting into my comments now. Because I think I'll
we'll
get
take
into
them
that
all.
later.
We'll take them all.
You'll take them all? Okay, I'll just go through my list then. Because I think it kind of results, you can see in your designs, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's several long hallways that are, to me, kind of wasted space. And could be more effectively used, but the site's pretty restrictive, and I get that. I went over there today and couldn't figure out how you were going to fit that stuff in, because the plans look a little more generous than when you're standing there looking at it. Yeah. So good job in fitting that in. In the commercial buildings, the two commercial buildings, the third floor, it's basically a third floor walk-up, right? There's no elevator.
Correct.
So this is for young people to carry their groceries up to the third floor with the stairs.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the intent, I guess, is to keep it simple and keep the design, the footprint of the building. Obviously, an elevator would take up a lot more footprint.
Yeah. And just the return on an elevator for one unit, it really doesn't make any sense. I do think there's a number of other projects that would be great for seniors that do have elevators nearby, but that was not envisioned for this closer services.
Okay. The little green spaces between buildings, you're showing trees and grass and I guess butterflies probably. There's probably an argument to be made to add a pathway in those things, because there's probably going to be foot traffic going from the front to the back of the units. For whatever reason, people park on the street and want to get to the back or whatever. So that's just a suggestion. The tandem parking, I've never used it. I know people who have that situation, but most of them it's a two-car garage door, and it's tandem inside, so you actually have potentially 4 parking places. So that's a lot more flexibility, right? When you're stuck with just a single wide, you do have that issue you brought up of trying to get in and out. And my concern with parking, I mean, we're limited to what we can require of parking by design. But to me, a typical resident would be less likely to keep all of his cars in that tandem garage and be more likely to seek parking out in the street or some of the visitor spots. So I'm not a fan of tandem parking. I know why the buildings are designed this way on this project, but I'm not a fan of it because it encourages more off-property parking, which is at a premium, as we keep talking about. You mentioned everything's in conformance, but in the agenda report, there's a couple things, one of them having to do with parking, that you were taking credit for a lot of on-street parking spaces, 28 of them, and yet the on-street parking can only count toward the commercial parking requirements, according to the comment from staff. And so you're going to have to, I don't know what you're going to do, create more on-site parking somehow. You're looking like you haven't heard this before.
No, Kyle, I don't believe that's true, Commissioner. The residential is parked on site.
Yeah, the residential is. But yeah, this again, this application has not been fully evaluated.
I understand.
yet,
I understand.
so-
I'm just pointing out that it was a comment that you guys made, and I'm assuming it's correct.
Yes, I can confirm that the commercial, the on-street parking can only count towards the commercial use, and so there's additional residential parking that's going to be needed to be addressed.
Right, 10 more
on-site.
spaces, which is significant on this small lot. But I'm sure it'll be resolved, just a comment I wanted to point out. And the other thing was let me see, I'm getting on here. Oh, the floor area ratio, the FAR, is 25% over the allowed number, which is also, to me, kind of a significant finding by staff. You're aware of that one too? Yeah, okay, so
Yep.
you have a fix for that, I take it.
We've looked at a couple different ways to do
Okay.
that. Again, yeah.
I know it's tentative and all that, but, and not being an architect myself, just a poor electrical engineer, it seemed like a significant thing to try to fix when you have to either increase the size of the lot, which doesn't happen, or decrease the size of the buildings. Anyway, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, I just had a question, and I've never asked this on your other projects, but is handicap parking spaces designated required on site?
For commercial, absolutely.
So I didn't see any of those designated on the plans.
Yeah, Commissioner, I really do want to reiterate that at this preliminary level,
Okay.
like.
Okay, when we're talking about limited parking spaces, it could become significant because they take more space, that's all I'm pointing out. I understand you're in preliminary. And then another comment, I'm getting down to the end. The trash enclosures are at opposite ends, at the far end, and this thing is like a couple football fields long. So these people in the middle are going to have to walk quite a ways to get to their trash can. It seems inconvenient. And then, let's see. Oh, as far as the character studies go, you kind of poo-pooed option 2, but that's the one I like the best. The other one's the industrial look. I'm not a huge fan. To me, if it's Grover Beach, it should be the more beachy looking look. Just my opinion. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Halverson. Commissioner Hoffman, questions for the applicant?
I know you talked about how you heard from the community about they wanted less like visual massing, but I was wondering if you have heard specifically that they want differentiation of each unit visually. Because I would echo Commissioner Halverson's comment that I also liked number 2 the most. And I feel like the third and fourth option are very similar to other developments that have occurred lately. And I think we've heard from the community that they don't really like that visual, industrial, boxy kind of look.
Yeah, I've heard a variety of feedback. So I think the community, and I have a lot of empathy for, is struggling with change. So I hate to say that I am poo-pooing any style. I wouldn't show you anything that I wasn't very proud of and think is appropriate here. So I think they're all appropriate. I think that's what's one of the wonderful things about Grover Beach is it is so eclectic and unique. We had one, I think, that put different styles on the same building even. There is nothing that we would say is off the table. We did hear that taking a larger building and breaking it down towards the individual units was something that was more desirable. So that's all that went there. But
I would also say that for visual reasons, I do like how the garages are in the back, but I do agree that tandem parking being used for its intended purpose is a pipe dream, and I don't really foresee that being how they're actually used. But I understand that that's often how you get the parking quota met. And that's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Holden.
I had some questions about parking for the businesses. And I see there's, in the 2 buildings that have businesses, there's spaces. But wouldn't residents be using those as well? I mean, just seeing open parking spaces when they drive home from work because the businesses are closed?
Yeah, I think that's part of the intent of like a mixed-use development is that they most often have off-hour times. So, we haven't gotten to the level, there's 88 parking there. We haven't gotten to the level of assigned spaces or those sorts of things. Happy to take any comments. Would hate to see this just be a parking lot, but yes, the intent would definitely be that a resident who may not come home till 6 and doesn't need the parking during the day, that same parking space could be used absolutely by a commercial business that was, open during off hours. So there is a nice synergy there, and I think there's a number of mixed-use parking studies that would support that.
And if mixed use turned out to be a dentist office or something like that, then they could have 10, 15 customers, I guess, during a day of work.
Yeah, that.
I mean, my dentist has a whole bunch of people working, and there's everybody in a chair. That would be more places than are there.
Yeah, I think any use that would go in there would have to meet the city requirement for parking.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's all I had.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Swift.
So actually, my question is going to be for Community Development Director Megan Martin first, and then back to you. But I sent you a picture a few months ago of essentially option 2 with color. Do you have that picture accessible?
We have it saved in our files, but I don't have it accessible here. But yeah, I think a good representation of it would be a stroll along Amsterdam's waterfront and seeing that beachfront look with bright pink, bright blue, bright orange, bright green.
Right.
So
In an
all
option
around.
2 design, which is
in the
essentially
option 2
what it
design.
was.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know.
I wasn't sure if you meant that one or the shed roofs. We've gotten
No, not the
a couple
shed.
of pictures.
But I know
we're promoting
I
those
know
left and
Mr.
right.
Martin actually has more colors than gray, brown, and white because you were also the design firm on Cleaver and Clark.
That is us, yes.
And Cleaver and Clark actually has a little bit of color, a little bit. Certainly better than some of the other ones. And so I would say that
Colors are coming.
you got to reach for those brighter colors.
Appreciate the
Yes.
positive feedback. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Option 2 with some bright colors, Rio de Janeiro, flamingos. I mean, great beach.
There's that one in Capitola, right? All the painted, right? So beautiful beachfront. Yeah, absolutely.
And all the rest of my comments, I think, go back to the 4 discussion points, so I'll save those until after the public comments.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I think I'm going to hold some of my more opinion-oriented comments until after I hear from everybody in this room, because they may cover them for me. But I did have a question. So I feel like we have an opportunity here to kind of have Sesame Street with Mr. Hooper's store, which I think is sort of the quintessential row home. Like, that's the one we remember from childhood, right? We've all seen Sesame Street. And the community that gets built along that. And we also we're a unique, special flower as well. So my question though, I like having the cars and the driving at the back and having those porches and closer to the street side. So with Trinity, we needed to have some sort of soundproofing wall, because the units were right up against that. So first question is, do you foresee needing more of a sound barrier as well there? Because that's something that if you're a standing, pedestrian, that is actually going to block the view.
Just want to clarify, Chairperson, you're Chairman, you're talking about the edge along the
edge
railroad
along
tracks.
the train tracks.
So there's two things happening along that edge. There's both a grade break change and just general safety requirements of people and engagement with the railroad tracks. So we're definitely going to need some sort of safety fencing.
Right now, there's nothing, right?
Again, we're trying to make things better, not worse. So I think there will be some retaining that has to happen from a solid wall standpoint. I don't believe the same sound attenuation is needed here based on sight lines. So it could be a solid wall. It could be a mix of solid and safety fencing. I'm happy to hear any input you have on that.
Yeah, I think if we can anticipate, if part of breaking up the townhomes into these 4x7s is to allow some, continuing view shed, which I appreciate. It's not required. It's a nice, but I think it's a respectful thing to try to do. To then have a 7-foot block wall would be kind of unfortunate.
Maybe there's the wall where the buildings are and then something open in between. I love
so
the feedback.
Just thinking about that.
The problem solving.
And then thinking about it also in context of being adjacent to Trinity. So Trinity has a sidewalk along that sound wall that is sort of, I think, when we looked at it, it was intended to be private. Do you anticipate that being open to be able to walk into this area as well, and having some sort of pedestrian access such that from Front Street one could passage to that other sidewalk?
Yeah, you know, that sidewalk is in front of the Trinity Townhomes. It's definitely intended to be a little more what I'll call community oriented to that community, not so wide open to any pedestrian walking through. You have great public streets and walkways throughout. So we haven't contemplated that at this point. It would connect back by the trash that maybe is too far away. I don't know. The trash by the mixed use on the right-hand side of this page right now. If we did look at connecting, again, I'm worried there's a little grade change there and some challenge. Unfortunately, the world's not flat, and we'd have to work.
Not even here.
I know, right? We'd have to work some of that out, but definitely access along the street. The primary pedestrian connection would be Front Street. And
Okay.
Front Street leads you right into town.
Okay, and so if someone is taking Front Street, they would need to make a left turn on Ramona to get to Grand Avenue or walk through a
I think that's the
parking lot.
most pedestrian-friendly
Okay.
approach, yes.
Which I guess is what people do now. We've got a whole room full of people. I'm looking forward to hearing how you access the beach from your neighborhood. Other questions I had. So I'm going to hold off on the architecture and floor plan and those sorts of ideas. But I think site-wise, that's the questions I had for now. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
So I have a whole stack of speaker slips. I know you're all very excited to talk about this project. So we are at 8 o'clock, and I was wondering if we could take a quick break. Would we like to? You need one? Okay, yes. So I am going to recess. Do we want to say 7 minutes, 10? Should we do 10? There's a lot of people here if they all need to go to the bathroom. Just 5? We're going to do 5 minutes. Everybody will be back. It is 8:07 now. Be back at 8:12. try to petition for a few more. We're missing a commissioner or a vice chair. Someone was kind enough to let him in first, which was very kind. I'm going to give it another 2.
Good job, Mom. Good looking.
So, and do please review the decorum and rules on the 3rd page of the agenda. And we will be holding to that. So, I have a stack of speaker slips. The first person I have is Brenda Auer. Is she back in the room?
She's going to call in.
Okay. Then I'm going to move on to the other people who are here, and then we'll catch Brenda on the line. So next I have Marcia Fraser. Is she back? I'm going to move her to the back. Chris Macaron.
And thank you for pronouncing that correctly.
It was a guess.
My name is Christopher Macaron. I live at 242 Beckett Place. The Community Development Department maintains that by providing massive condominium blocks, it provides needed housing. The assessment of this must be taken in its entirety, including the cities having more than met RHNA number goals. These residential condominiums at $1,000 a square foot exceed the financial wherewithal of most buyers to purchase them, a market which Grover RHNA numbers show is already overserved. In other recent developments in Grover Beach, with 119 condos at 401, 402, and 197 West Grand. When weighed against the permanent loss of views and habitat losses for millions of people, the public trust suffers imbalances, inequalities, and isn't served. The other 10 mid-rise condo blocks planned along West Grand Avenue, which together form a cumulative effect, all but 2 in the coastal zone, all blocking views. The argument that these developments up to 66 feet high do not impede coastal views cannot be supported when one drives through the town and they can see that they do block views from all over the city and previous scenic views are now permanently blocked. And I had another section to read. I'm going to avoid that for the moment. I want to discuss CCB. Community is part of their name. We are the community. And as yet, I have to see a representative from them engaging with the community directly. I would love to see it. I do not know if they have the balls to actually do it. Okay? But Debbie Peterson leads our group, and I'm sure she would be more than happy to meet with them and our group and figure out a compromise. Because we would love to see a compromise to work with us. That's all we really need. And that is about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will focus in on point 3 in the rules for presenting testimony. This is our opportunity to give input into the design of this, into the design features that you're seeing in this pre-application. And so I would ask you to focus your testimony on the most important parts of the proposal. Don't repeat points made by others. That's what's here in our rules. And again, do not applaud during testimony. So you can be most helpful to us if you are helping us to see the things that we're not seeing in this proposal in terms of the design. So moving forward, thank you. I'd like to call Linda Walter. Linda, are you here?
Now that I know I should be talking about the design, I'll have to alter a few things. I'm Linda Walter. I lived at 272 Beckett Place in Grover Beach. I'd like to address areas 3 and 4 in regard to the proposed project and how it does not comply with the local coastal plan policy. The proposed project is in Area 3, which runs along Front Street going from Ramona Avenue on the south to within about a block of Newport. Area 4 takes in the area east of the proposed project, which includes Beckett Place and the streets east up to about 3rd Street. Per the local coastal plan policy, and I quote, as the areas east of Highway 1 develop or redevelop, the scenic and visual qualities of the dunes, shoreline, and ocean shall be addressed in the siting and designing of the projects. The view shed over this area and to the shoreline environments are of major importance. The 359 Front Street project does not comply with this LCP policy because it impedes the scenic and visual qualities of the dunes, shoreline, and ocean from Area 4 and even further east. The design and site of the project has not taken into consideration these key crucial factors. If the buildings are 40 feet, and actually I live right behind there with the boxes on top, it looks to me they're more than 40, I could be wrong, are built parallel to Highway 1 on one side and Front Street on the other, that would be blocking the scenic views. If the land parcel weren't so narrow, then the problem could be solved by building them perpendicular to Front Street with 30 feet or more between them, which I'm sure is impossible to get that many units in that small space. So perhaps this is not the best use of this land. If it needs to be used for housing, then maybe a smaller scale project with fewer units and a lower height is in order. And while we're at it, let's build something more in line with the beachy architecture and something that's more in scale with the neighboring architecture. Perhaps like Cleaver and Clark, like somebody suggested, or Beach Place on Grand. Those seem a bit more friendly and inviting than the refrigerator boxes that we see going up at 179 Front Street and per blocks down Grand Avenue. They all look the same and the look isn't good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, I have Mike Wilson.
Again, Mike Wilson from 260 Beckett. What I'd like you to take a look at on the side plan is the, oh, I'm sorry, what? Oh, it's taller than I thought. is if you look at the local coastal plan dictates that view corridors are those roads that run parallel to Highway 1. And so as a consequence, as you draw your line down Ramona, the mixed-use facility is right in the line of sight. If you look at Brighton, you are definitely okay on the right side, but not okay on the left. The other concept that I guess I wanted to bring to your attention is the fact that you realize you're building on the most dangerous structure that we can imagine. There is an aquifer 7 to 11 feet below on sand. Right now, what's on that area that they're planning to build is all the corrupted soil that they pulled up. Does that change the nature of the soil itself once they have to remove it? So there's a number of complications here. And the one that I just suddenly realized is I worked with children my whole life. If you're really thinking about building homes where families will raise children, I can't imagine a more dangerous complication than having a railroad run behind it. It's remarkable that we're even considering it. So my thought in this case, and I know I've got little time left, is maybe there is a better use. Mr. Ford built very proper structures down from us. They're under 40 feet, they're 33, we know for a fact. And the issue now is that in his existing structures, he provides more than adequate parking, and that parking then allows for the view sheds that we're all kind of wondering where they'll go. So my hope is that maybe we're not completely precluded from considering other uses here before we drop a mallet. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Next, I'd like to call up Donna De La Rosa.
My name's Donna De La Rosa, and I moved to Grover Beach in 1997 for a job transfer, with fully intending to go back to Ventura County when I retired. I love it here. I'm not going back. But I really am very, very disturbed as what's happening. And this project that you're talking about tonight is just it's just one of them, but it's a very important one. And the question of building heights is the single most important issue to Grover Beach residents since 3 decades ago when they changed it from Grover City to Grover Beach. Height and massing changes took place during COVID shutdowns in 2022 without additional outreach to citizens, so the highly massed 5 to 6 story height buildings come as a shock to many of us. So basically, I don't have too much more to say than you haven't already heard. I just ditto it. I really sincerely hope you think about the residents that live here. You have a great community. This is a great town. You have great people, and we're not trying to attack anybody. We just want to keep it the way it is, and we want to keep it to the codes that were originally set and the master plan. And none of this is part of that. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Next, I have Kelvin Kovdick.
Hi, I live on Beckett Street. The gentleman had talked a little earlier about that we meet the developing codes. That needs to be addressed, but not through you. It has to be addressed by your bosses, which is the city council. I've brought up in the last 2 city council meetings that I want an application to explore the future height restriction on the Trinity project. Finally, on the last meeting, which was 4.5 hours, the city manager said to my representative, Robert, we will discuss this at the next meeting. So it's going to get on the agenda because I keep showing up. And it will get on the agenda, and maybe we will change the developing codes because those are the rules. But let's go with the rules. If you look at the Coastal Act, it says you can't block the views in the coastal zone. Nobody seems to be mentioning that this building is in the coastal zone. And you can't block the views from the public streets, scenic views. You know, so you're not being able to see the ocean, the horizon. But guess what? The view goes both ways. You can stand on the state beach, look the other way. In the parking lot, it blocks the mountains. That's a scenic view from a public place like a state beach, a state park. These are all things we need to consider. But one thing I do want to mention, let's work with what we got. You look down the street, buildings were built in 2004 by Mr. Ford. He has an office there. And guess what he did? He put 30 feet between the buildings. You look at this, it's 15 feet. My living room is 15 feet across. I would like to have a better view than the width of my, living room. But it's not about me, and it's not about the homeowners that live there. It's about the public and the future generations that are going to grow up here. Are they going to be able to drive down Brighton and Ramona and see the horizon, see the beautiful sunset that we had tonight? The answer is going to be no if you continue with this. So we just have to be responsible. Take that breath. The city council will have to deal with this so that the builders can't say we're following the rules. People be damned. Let's change the rules. You can't, city council can. So I'll address that in the next meeting over there. But let's also, if this has to happen, let's make the spacing between the buildings 30 feet, just like Mr. Ford did in his other building in 2004. It sounds like, by the way, that spacing is not for parking. It's just spacing. They have like 60 feet for parking. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Arlene Craver, Legion LaFord. Is it LaFord? Buford? I apologize. I'm having trouble reading the handwriting. Is that person here? Did Arlene leave? I'm going to put her at the back in case she comes back. Let's move on to Susanna Brown.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Susanna Brown. I am a data scientist and the chairperson of the South County Chambers of Commerce. And I am speaking in support of item 3. I know not a lot of people here are, but I wanted to explain there are a lot more people than just in this room. The Solstice mixed-use project at 359 Front Street, from both a data and business side, is exactly the kind of smart infill project that the general plan envisions here. Mixed-use developments consistently generate higher tax revenue per acre, create stronger year-round foot traffic, and support nearby small businesses. Not just the businesses in this development, but the ones that are nearby and all the way down the West Grand Corridor, which is in the plan. Coastal visitor serving commercial space also performs 15 to 30% better than inland retail. So the 3,100 square feet of commercial space that is presented here is positioned well to succeed. And as the applicant has explained, they have some ideas, maybe dentists or chiropractors instead of knickknack shops and things that we might see in other coastal developments. Transportation data also reinforces this approach. Mixed-use projects typically produce 20 to 40% fewer daily trips because residents can walk to and from services instead of driving everywhere. So as myself, I'm a millennial. I have 2 small children. It would be wonderful to live somewhere where I could walk to dinner with them, walk to the beach for our evening walk our dog nearby. And the way that they've envisioned that front sidewalk, it's very safe from the heavy traffic that would be on Highway 1 nearby. And it's also great that they put the front of the stoops facing First Street instead of facing the railroad tracks. I also have a friend that bought one of those houses in Guadalupe, and they have 5 children, very small children, and they bought one of the lots that faces the railroad tracks, and they came up with the builders a really great solution that was just a concrete wall, and they had it painted when they bought the house, and it was beautiful, and their kids loved watching the trains come by. And I know it's not ideal, but we all need housing, and I think there are creative solutions that can be found here. Also importantly, South County continues to face a jobs and housing imbalance. Adding 36 homes in a walkable, service-rich corridor directly supports the local workforce and strengthens economic stability for employers. And I appreciate the applicant bringing this project forward in the pre-application stage to give an open perspective from your chairs and your individual ideas and the community as well. And for all it's worth, I like number 2 also. I think it's charming, and I would think it's something a lot of families would find suitable instead of the more modern, manly, industrial look. So thank you so much for taking the time and the hours to oversee this project and all the projects that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Jocelyn Brennan.
Hello, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for your patience tonight. There's obviously a lot of public comment. People have a lot of strong opinions about this. I am Jocelyn Brennan. I'm the Executive Director of the Home Builders Association. And we're in a housing crisis, as you know, on the Central Coast. This is not theoretical. It's happening in real time to working families, to young professionals, to seniors, and to local businesses. In San Luis Obispo County alone, tens of thousands of residents are cost burdened, meaning more than 30% of their income goes to just keeping a roof over their head. For extremely low income households, most are paying over half of what they earn for housing. California as a whole is short well over 1 million homes, and that shortage did not happen overnight, and it did not happen by accident. It happened because for decades, housing was delayed, downsized, or denied due to political pressure, fear of change, and community opposition. And today, families and workers are paying the price for that past inaction. That is why the legislature stepped in. State law now makes it clear that cities are not free to simply deny housing because it's controversial or unpopular. Local discretion is still very important, but it must be balanced with the reality that housing production is no longer optional. The state has limited what cities can deny precisely because resistance to housing is one of the reasons we are in the crisis to begin with. Grover Beach has a choice. The city can be part of the solution, or it can preserve the condition that helped create the problem. If we want more housing and stronger business districts, Grover must grow up rather than out. Up is how small coastal cities make room for residents and economic opportunity without sprawl. We create walkable neighborhoods, active streets, and create tax bases that support local services and service workers. This project supports local businesses by placing more customers within walking distance. It supports employers by creating places for workers to live, and it supports the long-term health of this city by reinvesting in underutilized land in ways that benefit everyone, not just a few. Grover has also one of the youngest populations in the county. The generation is already here, and they're very clear about what they want. They want walkability. They want dining. They want shopping. They are not dreaming of a single-story home with a white picket fence. They are embracing urban living, healthier lifestyles, and communities that are built for connection. They're not afraid of tall buildings if those buildings help them afford to stay here and build their future. I understand that change is hard. I understand that growth can feel uncomfortable, but the cost of inaction is higher. Without developments like this, Grover risks becoming a place only the wealthy can afford. Businesses will struggle, young families will leave, and workforce shortages will deepen. We should be building Grover Beach for the future, not freezing it in the past. A city where our kids and grandkids can afford to live, a city where workers can live near their jobs, a city with energy and commerce and life in its downtown. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Debbie Peterson.
Chairman and Planning Commission, I would like to speak on behalf of the folks here and say that this is not about fear of change. This is about asking you to cooperate with the community's vision that they put in place that suddenly has been yanked away from them. We're not saying we don't want mixed use. We're not saying we don't even want 2 or 3 stories. In some cases, there's 4. What we're saying is we'd like to be heard and listened to. So I have to ask you, you commissioners, have you read the Development Code and the Local Coastal Program? And I have to ask that of our speakers too, because it appears that they don't understand that visitor serving doesn't include chiropractors and it doesn't include dentists. It includes visitor serving, and those are not visitor serving uses. I don't think they're approved. Right now, coastal community builders have it would appear upwards of 50 lawsuits, several in San Luis Obispo, 4 fires in their most recent development, and apparently some mold issues in Santa Maria as well. We have a responsibility to our people to build good quality, safe housing. And there are several ways in which this does not meet the development code. The space between the properties is supposed to be half that of the height of the building. So if the building is 40 feet, it's supposed to be 20 feet, not 15. The other thing is, how can you possibly say that there is a view shed when in that space you plant a tree? I love trees. I totally favor trees. I'm a tree hugger. But I also think that protecting the views is something that is in our code. And there are several things that don't work with the code. One is that the lot is not 100 feet deep as required. There was a comment that the view shed is not required. Well, I think the Coastal Commission would disagree with that. And so I want to read to you City of Grover Beach General Plan, Land Use 23, Goals, Policies, and Implementation Measures. And this is the overall objectives to be achieved by the land use element, described in LU 1-22, and in the Vision Project, which is Chapter 2, to achieve these objectives, the land use element sets forth goals, policies, and implementation measures. The goal being the ultimate purpose of an effort stated in a way that's general in nature and immeasurable. Policy is a specific statement in text or diagram guiding action and implying clear commitment. An implementation measure or action is an action, procedure, program, or technique that carries out general plan policy implementation programs and also specifies primary responsibility for carrying out the action and a time frame for its accomplishment. And what I'd like to ask all of you is to consider your legacy. Do you want to be the planning commission that destroyed Grover Beach and the vision of its people?
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up Tim, looks like City Call. I was going to get there.
First of all, thank you and good evening, commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to speak. I think a lot's been said here already tonight, and a lot of it has to do with our viewing corridors. I think what's important is we're not against progress and progression, and we're not against more housing. That's great. But we are, my wife and I were retired, and we retired here 5 years ago. We've lived here since 2004, though. We've had our house here, and that's our dream too. You know, it's not about just the young people's dream. Our dream is to come to this beautiful coast town of Grover Beach. My wife's aunt and uncle were farmers here. We visited this place many times, and we made a plan to be here. Why? Because of our beautiful coastal views. And those are being stripped from us as retired people. And I don't think, and I really, you know, we're just frustrated that a lot of the tall buildings that are going up are taking those views away. I mean, you've got Ramona Avenue, you've got Brighton Avenue. Those are view corridors of the ocean and the dunes. And with these buildings being put up, those are being taken away. So I think a lot's been said here tonight, and I don't want to reiterate a lot of things said. I think it's just work with us, you know. 2 stories, you know, limit the height, 32 feet, 30 feet. Consider those things. That's all we're asking, you know. Hey, you want progression? We're there for it because we want it too, you know. And we love Grover Beach, so thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your comment. Moving on, Mary McClure.
Mary McClure. I'm a general contractor, have been since 1978, and I gave you a packet, and I hope you do read it. There's some things that are marked out. And if you really look into this, the wells and everything that were drilled ties into 359. So all of this is not bringing up what's going on at 196 or 197. But if you read this, it says it wasn't even recommended that you pass it because you have water standing at 30 or at 70 feet. At 7 feet, I'm sorry. And then you just have a lot of different things that's going. This is just, it's not even feasible. Here in this packet it says, we would also recommend that the utilities design be flexible for that's in case the building falls down, if you don't recognize that. And being on the Planning Commission, you should recognize all this. So if you read this before you passed 197, it ties it right in with 359. And 359 now has soil that's contaminated that has been brought down there. That has to be addressed now. And there's just several things that's not coming before you that should be. And we should be addressing this in project review. You know, I don't understand why we can't be notified and come to a project review, and then we could have our say before it comes here. And then if we have something else that we want to say, we can come before you. But we don't have the option here. For some reason, the staff doesn't want to talk to us or something. I came down, Megan sent me I just found out an email, sent it to the wrong email. I just got it today, and my daughter-in-law is in Switzerland. So, you know, we just don't get what we ask for. And when I go down to City Hall and I ask for a compaction test, they can't find it. Does anybody have a compaction test on the property? All these things have to be addressed. You only have 85 feet. You haven't even discussed that. We're looking at design. We can't really check a design unless we know the measurements. So, I mean, you've got a lot to think about here. And it's not just us complaining, it's building issues. And there's major building issues here.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Randy Pfizer.
Hi, Randy Pfizer again. I said most of what I wanted to say before. I agree with the loss of the view from the beach to the mountains back there. My wife wanted me to say that tonight. She was at the beach and looked back and said, those are blocking all kinds of stuff and all the people on the other side of them from seeing the ocean. And that was it. And then thank you all. Thank you for your presentation. And thank you all for all your hard work. It's not easy, I know. My last thoughts are it's too tall and the parking's going to be a problem. Thank you, but I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Marcia Frazier. Did she leave? Okay. Roscoe Dawes.
Yeah, thank you all for what you're doing. Thanks for hearing us. Thanks for everybody showing up, showing out, speaking up. You instructed us to talk about the design. Design, to me, is flawed. It does block the coastal view. It does block the mountain view. 15 feet in between townhomes is very, very little. And it's a money thing to me. You know, you can make them less dense. You can make them 2 stories, not 4 stories, have less units. And the architect here said, well, he envisions this as a DINK, double income, no kids. That's not helping community, you know. We need community. We want to have families. Jocelyn said, you know, housing shortage, community. That's not community. That's rich people, you know. A lot of us had to sacrifice to live here, you know. There's ways to get homes when you build 2 expensive homes for the elite to look at the beach or rent them out or Airbnb them. This community, I don't believe that serves this community well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And I'm back around to Arlene. I don't think she's come back into the room. And we determine. Oh, yes, please. So we're through the slips. Is there anyone in the room who'd like to speak on item 3? Please come forward and you can coordinate order.
So I'll be nicer this time. I'm calmed down now. They're gonna be. I live on Front Street, and I walk 8 miles a day, so I can tell you anything you want to know about that area down there. I walk every day. Well, I drank a margarita and broke my knee, and then I had to sit with a cast on my knee for 12 weeks, and I ate peanuts and gained 20 pounds. So anyway, but what I wanted to say is, down on Front Street, there is a soccer net. You can go look.
Come closer to the mic, please, so we can all hear you.
There is a soccer net on Front Street about the size as tall as a wall here. And there's 8 or 10 little boys for 2 years that play soccer there. I was walking through there and I said, aren't you afraid to play in the street? Everybody knows it and they go around so that we don't bother them. And he said, oh no. He said, my mom won't let me cross Highway 1 without her. She's at work. And, you know, so that's where they have to play. There's a lot of apartments down there. I don't know if you're aware of that. But so the other night, I was out with my dog, and a guy was parking across the street from me, which is about 2 blocks up from the apartments, up the hill. And I said, oh, do you live here? He said, well, I live down in the apartments, but we don't have any parking. So they're walking 3 blocks home because they can't park by their apartment because it's all full. And this is on Front Street. And my husband, who manages, he does contracts for PG&E, billions, not millions, billion-dollar contracts. He was in meetings all day today. So he left because he'd had enough. And, you know, what he took out of it, he said, you know what, if it was my project, he said, I would do 2 buildings, 1 park, and 1 parking. So I think that, or we can make it a soccer field for those kids. There you go. That's been playing in the street for 2 years.
Thank you very
much. And they can't
much.
afford to go somewhere else. One of them doesn't even have a dad. So, I mean, you know, that's their play place. We can't give kids the streets to play on and not use them, I agree. But I will say, the neighbors and we walked, we cleaned up a homeless encampment just right down where he's going to build it. Raw chicken, clabbered milk. It was so gross, but we did it. And I took my lopers down there. We cut the bush where they were sleeping, so it wasn't. People have ownership in that area, is what I'm trying to say. And there's kids that they could use a park. I mean, do we really want kids playing by the railroad tracks? And if you sit, I'm quite a ways away from the railroad tracks, but if I sit on my deck and have a margarita, it would spill when the train went by. Just so you know.
Thank you very much for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak on item 3? And I will reiterate, it is helpful if you could give us, I guess, more concrete examples, your comments on the design. Go on.
Marcia Thornton, Grover Beach. Has anybody even stopped to think about the fact that it's in a flood zone, it's in a tsunami zone, that the soil is so fluffed up and so full of water, they're going to have to do a whole lot of mitigating to build on top of that. And once they do, The fact that the train's there and moving that dirt constantly is, spells disaster as far as I'm concerned. Those places, I don't care how you build them, eventually the walls are going to crack and there's going to be issues. I don't think the project should go forward, period. That once you read the papers that you were handed out tonight and see what the soil's doing or does and the water table, it's not feasible to put 4 stories on that property, period. It's not wide enough. It doesn't meet a whole lot of things that are in the building code. You can't just ignore the building code when you feel like it. It's for everybody, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who want to speak? Please come forward.
My name is Bob Nelson. Everybody relax. This isn't the hate hour. Let's just try to get this thing through. But as far as the housing here in Grover Beach right now too, as far as homes for sale in Grover Beach, today there's 40 homes for sale in Grover Beach. There's 25 homes for rent in Grover Beach. There's 17 apartments for sale in Grover Beach. There's 30 apartments for rent in Grover Beach, and that's today. And I'm going off of 5 different sources and going through the middle of the road. So as far as the big need for housing, I understand it's bound to happen. It's going to happen sooner or later. But as far as and back down to Trinity, to that place, the zoning codes and the commercial codes, if you go down Front Street right now, Front Street used to be totally industrial the whole way down. Right now there's 3 shops that are open for business on Front Street. All the rest of it is residential. And those residential and industrial buildings are all 28 feet. They're all to housing code. Over on Beckett, the whole street is industrial, all to housing code height. Everybody can see all the way down here. There's hundreds of houses that go up the hill that have the view that everybody's talking about and crying about right now. And the thing is, when you don't build the highest seats in the stadium in the front row. Put them up on top of the hill. Let them get the view. They can still have the same view. And if you look too, if you go down to them, on the second level of every one of those apartments that they're building, they have ocean views. They don't have to be that high. Granted, they have to be spread out in order to make them large enough. There'll be fewer of them, but at least it'll be equal all the way across, all the way down to, build 28, 30 feet all the way to the beach. And this will go away. And that's something also too, is what about reparations? People have lived here for 30, 40 years. We paid millions and millions into Grover Beach for this place, for this view to live in. And I can tell you right now, an ocean view home has quite a bit more value than a condo view home. Now who's giving me that back, that type of thing? So it's kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't think making half as many is going to make these developers go broke, and also support the rest of Grover Beach. Something to consider.
Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak? Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Mark Stockwell. I live at 320 Ramona, and I do have a couple questions maybe he can answer. Can you bring it back up so I can see can we bring that back up? Yeah, the site plan, there you go. So where are the where are the electrical boxes going to be and the gas meters? Where are those going to be placed on those buildings?
Let us write down your questions, and then when we get to the
Okay.
discussion part,
Okay.
we'll have.
So
we
my
can have the
question
applicant
is
open.
where are the electrical boxes
If we
for
have an answer
PG&E,
yet.
and where are the gas meters going to go for Southern Cal? Because those are ugly. Are they going to be in a room? Are they going to be by the garage? Where are they going to be? I'd like to know that. And then the second, the second thing I want to know is, like, she was talking about kids playing in the street. Is there a rule, and I'm sure there is, on what park size? Do you need a park for how many residents live in a neighborhood? There. Okay, so, are we going to have a park there for that, and then Trinity, or do we have a park for that? Are we thinking about that? Because I can't see a kid. I know in Trinity they can't, but I can't see a kid playing soccer in that driveway. So, and the ladies in the back were talking about kids walking and the new people coming in, the young people, they don't like a picket fence. Well, I don't know how those kids are going to be able to afford places because it's real expensive. If you're going to have a kid, don't you want your kids to have somewhere to play? I mean, really. I mean, that needs to be brought up. And, and the designs are good. I mean, they look good. I like the cottage one. That looks the best. But the last thing I want to say is I live at 320 Ramona. I have a deck. If I go out, I don't know, let's say 2 months ago, I went out, I have a view from here to here. You know how much view I have now? There and there. And when they put that new building there, that is gone. So I have this much. And then right where Spoon Trade is, when they build those, that will go away. The gold post was moved. When I moved there, it was good. When I bought it, it was good. You guys somebody moved the gold post.
Thank you very much for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak to item 3? Please come forward.
I have a question for you later.
Let's let this gentleman have his 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Joe Pavavarov. I am a realtor in the area, and when I moved here originally to look for a home for my family at the time, one of the big segues was that there wasn't enough housing, and if I had the money to buy a home as a veteran, it had to meet standards. And the homes in the area that I had to meet specific standards didn't allow that. It was not something that was approved by VA because of the atmosphere here and the wet weather and the inclement weather that creates a lot of, thank you. So between that, I've spent my quality time with my children going to the beach because it's right there. Not having to have a large yard because we don't need a pool. There's a huge one right there. We attend parks all over our area that the children absolutely adore in this neighborhood. From here to Pismo, there's a lot of places that we go to as a family, as with the time that I have with them, that it's allotted so that we can spend quality time and still see the ocean, because there's some parks that are perched up that have beautiful ocean views around here. The homes they're going to be putting in here, I think I like the site plan number 2. I really like the Spanish style, yet I'm not sure how well that fits over here. But being that it's going to be front and center, there is that height variable that I think that what we've all done here in the past and in the future is work around each problem with the people together. And I feel that the improvements to the downtown area currently have really improved. I feel confident walking down the street with all the new pavement and all the new sidewalks and all the new stoplights. Everything looks really attractive and really clean to walk through. I feel safe walking around. I feel that it's a safe place for my children to walk around as well. So there are a lot of improvements, and there's been a lot of things that we've had to course manage going through all these projects just to make room for development. Whether it's the sewage, the runoff, or anything else to do with engineering, it does get fixed, and it does get fixed for the better of everybody in this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there anyone else who had not had a chance to talk? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Taylor Gullickson. I live on 16th and Ramona.
I've never been to one of these meetings before, so I'm a little nervous. But I am a young professional who is currently looking for a home anywhere in this large Central Coast area. And my experience has been that it is very, very difficult to find anything that is affordable. And I highly doubt that these townhomes are going to provide an option for myself, a double income young professional household with no children. The mortgages that we are looking at already are $4,000 or $5,000 a month. That is more than 50% of a double income household, on average, myself and my friends and colleagues. I really don't see how this would be providing any kind of affordable housing options that the community seeks. We all understand that housing is needed, but I don't think that oceanfront property is where that should be located. I think realistically, the people who buy these townhomes are going to see them as an income opportunity, Airbnb them out, rental properties, whatever. If I could afford it, that's probably what I would do too. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for hearing me out.
Thank you, neighbor. Anyone else in the room who wanted to speak? Have you already had a chance to speak? How do we want to do this? We have had a lot of speakers. I think we're doing one shot, folks. Is there anyone on the phone line who would like to speak?
Yes, there is.
All right, let's go.
First, we have Steve Lieberman.
Good evening, Chair and Board. Steve Lieberman, longtime Grover Beach resident. Seen lots of change since 1990. Engaged citizen, and I'm a county planning commissioner. I just want to get to comments on the design of the project, but I want to remind everyone that when the beach place was first built, people hated it. And they were very angry with the beach place. And then we started seeing people move in, walk downstairs, go get coffee, go get food, and the concept of mixed use worked. So change is hard, but change is inevitable. As far as this project, I've heard a lot of great comments, and I look forward to the applicant working with the community to see what they can do, and I definitely support concept number 2. A couple of questions I'm hoping that staff can help with is talk about the development code. I heard some public comment about the development code not allowing certain businesses, hoping they can clarify that. And also maybe talk about, being the son of a civil engineer, can they talk about, if this project were to move forward, the scientific studies on compaction, water table, soils, all those things that would be required. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's hear the next person.
We have Brenda Auer.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm going to try and take you off a speak. There we go. Thank you, everyone. As you can see, Grover Beach is finally awake. COVID kind of put us to sleep. Now we're active again. Tonight the room was full. I left because I wanted to give other people a place to sit. I know about 200 other people that really would like to voice their opinion. A lot of them are afraid, as I should be myself. I've sold over 500 homes in the area, about 100 in Grover Beach, and the majority of those had ocean views. The last thing I want to do is rub a builder wrong. From what I could see, it looks like there's about 51 homes whose views are going to be directly impacted. I live on the first hill about 8 blocks away. You know, we can only go up 2 stories, but if we go up 2 stories, we're still going to be blocked. I saw amazing waves today in Whitewater. I don't want to lose that. I've lived here 26 years. I bought my home because of the view. I'd like to address slide number 4 that was shown by the developer. I want to talk about the runoff I saw during the rain from the new development that ran to the train tracks instead of being kept on the property. Let's look at that side. I'll point it out to you. Now, everybody sharpen your pencils, okay? These projects are not for the locals. Anybody that's telling you that is misleading you. The median income in Grover Beach is $82,000 a year. They can afford, an average person can afford $2,400 a month for either a house payment or rent. It's not for families and workers. If you were to buy an $800,000 home on an $82,000 income, you would put out $56,000 in your mortgage and have, what, 30-some thousand left to live on? Something's wrong here. A dentist office is not visitor services, only maybe for emergencies. Calvin, you were correct. Keep asking, because this council right here has the ability to change the height limit. They have the ability to ask the council to change the height limit. So keep asking. And you will be the council to be remembered for all of this that's going on. Pismo, they limited the height limits by the freeway so that you could still enjoy the view from the freeway. How are we missing this? It's okay to even put a building moratorium up at this point, folks. We heard for 2 years our city manager preach, no water, no water, no water. Then Miracle Rain. Well, we have Miracle Rain. Is he going to start preaching no water again to jack up our bills?
Thank you very much.
Back at the general plan.
That's time. Is there anyone else on the line?
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the line?
Yes, we have Lauren Westfall.
Good evening. This is Lauren Westfall again in Newport. Couple of things I want to bring up. One, I do like style 2. It's more of a coastal, even though I would like a little bit more color. Secondly, Encore, for a 1-bedroom is running for $4K. For a 2 or 3 bedroom is running for $1 million. This is not for affordable housing. And you guys are saying, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, okay. In 2020, in Title 24 of the Building Code, talks about solar, and all these new developments are putting out rooftop decks. So how is that going to meet the 2020 solar power building code? Also, has anybody ever talked to the businesses across the street from this development? I think it's called Mitchell and Paul Heating and Sheet Metal. And when I spoke to him a couple of years ago, he was talking about how the trucks come in and basically kind of use up most of the road to do the delivery because they all have to come off of forklifts. Plus, I think there's a mechanic shop and a storage shop over there, and all of those use that frontage road. And the other important thing is since there's only so many inches until you hit groundwater, has anybody even considered the settlement of foundations, even around that area, with the trains going by, the earth moving? Because I know the people that I bought the house from, when they put on the second story, the original foundation from 1955 is 5 inches higher than the foundation that they built in 1992. That's 5 inches that you're going to be closer to that water table. Also, I would also ask people to watch the video or Google the video on ghost towns in California. A lot of businesses are closing. A lot of businesses in San Luis are closing. You're going to end up causing probably all the businesses there on Front Street across from this development to close because they're not going to be able to get their delivery trucks in there, the tow trucks in there, and the other stuff. And how the commercial businesses are going to get the traffic is a good question. Are you going to put huge signs on Grand Avenue to advertise those businesses? These are things that you guys need to consider. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, there is. We have Krista Jeffries.
Go ahead, Ms. Jeffries.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for taking my comments. My name is Krista Jeffries.
I live on Ramona Avenue, and I'm a mother of 3 and a wife, and I just started a new job at one of our favorite local thrift stores. So that's a little bit about me. And throughout all of this meeting, I'm kind of wondering what expertise I'm supposed to give at a pre-application hearing for housing that is very clearly needed that I am not going to be purchasing anytime soon. I can understand the builder's intention of wanting to try and quell the peanut gallery, the things that people say they don't like about new buildings and try and get ahead of it. But frankly, I don't think it's a very good exercise of democracy for the city to ask me who should come behind me since I've already got mine. I heard some comments tonight about, I retired here because this is the way I wanted to live, like the way Grover was 20 years ago. Well, it must be really nice to think about how much better your retirement would be if other people didn't live here when you have a house that you own outright. So frankly, I don't think very much of this meeting was productive. I didn't look at any of the site plans, and I don't care. I don't care what it looks like. What I care about is the fact that we need housing, and there are people sleeping in parks, and there are people driving 2.5 hours to work one way, and there are people spending more than 30% of their income just to get by. And that's the thing that we need to fix. And I think my personal tastes for new development don't need to be included, and I don't think those of the audience need to be included either. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffries. Is there anyone else?
Yes, we have William Ray.
Go ahead, Mr. Ray.
Good evening, commissioners. Hey, when I built an apartment complex in 1980, I was required to have one covered garage space for each unit and 2 outdoor parking spots for each unit. So that made me not be able to use the whole lot. But what it did do is it kept my tenants from parking on the street. Things have changed. I don't know why, who, or where, but something to think about. Also, I think there may have been some paid call-in comments or commenters on behalf of the builders. Just something to think about. Hey, keep it up, you guys. Good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, we have no other callers.
With that, are we ready? I'm going to close public comment on item 3. All right. We've done that. We've done that. Okay, so I do have here in my thing, call on the applicant representative to provide any closing comments on the application. I guess that was supposed to be during public comment. Oh, but can you help me out here?
Sure, and it's because it's not a public hearing, it's not
Okay.
as formal as usual, so when you accept comment from the builder, it doesn't have to be within like the public hearing or public comment period.
Okay. Would the representative of the pre-application like to answer any questions that came up pertaining to, within the scope here?
Thank you, Chair. I think, and I'd love the opportunity, if your discussion leads to anything, to be able to mention something. But I just want to really thank everybody who came out and gave positive, constructive feedback so that we can take some of this into a next iteration of design. I heard loud and clear view sheds from public spaces, especially from the ends of the streets. Make sure we're highlighting those. In my head, I'm already thinking about ways to do that. So I thought that was very constructive and helpful. I heard some conversation about style and design, but lots of conversation about parking and about view shed. I wrote view shed more than anything else. So love to hear if commission heard things the same or if there were other gems. We can get into electrical panels and gas meters. They're going to be properly located. They're not at this time yet, most likely at the rear by the garages. But yeah, we're not nearly at that level of detail at this point.
Okay, great. So now we're at the point where the commissioners discuss amongst ourselves the pre-application. So, Commissioner Halverson.
Again, we have to stay on track as you tried to do, Chair. So we're really, and there's a lot of good comments that people made tonight, but this is probably not the night to make the comments. It's when they actually come back and ask for our approval, not just for some ideas that we might have to make it a better project. So the view shed questions, I mean, everybody's concerned about view shed, and we used to have some rules about view shed preservation in Grover Beach, but those were taken away, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. So those were eliminated and took a lot of responsibility away from the Planning Commission, because before that, I guess, we'd have to have story poles erected so that you could get an idea of the outline of the building, and you could actually see what the view shed impact would be, but not required anymore. And I think the state had something to do with that as well. So, I guess I'm not going to talk about those things. The soil stability, I mean, there's lots of good things that were brought up, but I'm confident that the builder and our Public Works group will take care of those issues, and if it's not feasible to build there safely, then it won't happen. In any case, going back to the reason for the meeting, the reason for this item, I think I vented all of my some petty and some I thought more important items initially. So I think I'll pass it on to someone else.
Commissioner Hoffman.
That was a lot. I think we heard option 2, more color, definitely focus on the view sheds and the parking. I like the idea of more space between the buildings, allowing more room for views. And I think that's it for me.
Commissioner Holden? Could you turn your mic on?
I have no comments.
Vice Chair Swift.
I have 5 pages of comments.
The floor is yours.
Because our instructions were to go over the 4 discussion items, right? There were 4 discussion items to deliberate here. And the very first one was the land use compatibility. And not to belabor the instructions, but it looks like while you refer to this as a transitioning to visitor serving, it is not a visitor serving. It is a coastal, industrial, commercial zone. And while there are use permit requirements for a variety of uses in that coastal area, to include residential, it is not a fait accompli, as somebody else said earlier, that is an approved use for this piece of property. So in discussion item number 1, land use compatibility, you even said the commission should provide guidance on whether mixed-use development is an appropriate use for this property considering its current industrial zoning, the surrounding context, and the general plan's vision for transitioning Front Street corridor to a pedestrian-oriented visitor-serving use. Right? That's the primary thing we're being asked in that discussion point.
Yeah, I could just provide a quick clarification. The general plan land use designation for the property is coastal visitor serving mixed use. So that's
Coastal
where that,
visitor serving mixed use.
Correct. So that's where that indication comes from.
But it's not zoned coastal visitor serving mixed use. It's coastal industrial commercial.
Correct.
And the general plan would like to see it as used as a coastal visitor serving mixed use, which is a policy, right? That's policy discussion. So to me, this development looks like 28 unit luxury townhome development with 2 token mixed use properties added in, rather than a mixed use development with some residential above a commercial. So if I'm going to answer that first discussion item, I would say no, it does not meet the intent of the zone. If it were a commercial industrial with residential above it, which is kind of what we expect with places like Beach Place, then I might say okay. I mean, Beach Place is a good example, right? But to say that $28 million 3-story roof deck townhomes are an appropriate commercial industrial use, I would say no.
There's no way to know how much they would be, and it was vacant for several years. So I think that's one of the points, is that like it being industrial, no one has wanted to use it for industrial purposes.
That's fine. It just means it's an unusable piece of property with that zoning. But if the question is this the appropriate use of that piece of property, as a townhome project, I would say no. If it were a commercial project with residential above it, like the 2 small units that could be the entire project, I might say yes. But right now it's a townhome project. It's an extension of Trinity up Front Street. That's really what it is. So I think that was my comments on discussion point 1. I guess the other piece is these are townhomes, right? So they're deeded. They'll have their own APNs. They're deeded airspace down to the ground, basically, right? And so how, if you break this up into a subdivision that is 30 deeded lots, right? 28 for the townhomes and 2 for the condo commercial, isn't that just basically rezoning this as an R3 neighborhood? I mean, you're effectively saying that you're now putting 28 discrete APNs that have no mixed-use component to them in a coastal industrial commercial zone and calling it mixed use in the plan. It doesn't look like mixed use. It's 28 townhomes and 2 mixed-use parcels. Okay. And that was discussion item 1. Discussion item 2, architectural style. I think we actually, got a lot of good feedback on that. I'm glad a few people mentioned Beach Place. I think that's a really nice project. I wasn't here when people complained about it, but I think for a mixed-use project that fits in, it looks nice. I think this one as a more beachy coastal style with some color, which was the option 2. I think if it went forward, that would be an attractive design for the space, considering that it is a long view from PCH. When people drive into town from PCH, they will look across the tracks, and that will be a giant wall of what looks like Grover Beach as they enter. Right? They'll see Trinity, they'll see some of the other buildings, but that will be the distinct feature that you see coming into town. I think I even noted here that I would rather see it be an Old West train depot design than another industrial box. Let's see, that was item number 2. And just to add to that, so I just spent the last 10 days driving the I-10 corridor, basically 101 down to Ventura, 210 across what I call Los Angeles, is anything south of the Grapevine, onto I-10 all the way to Austin. And something that I did note in every large town that I went through, whether it be San Bernardino, Palm Desert, Phoenix, Tucson, El Paso, and Austin and its suburbs, is that they all must use the same Architectural Digest or the same architectural design software, because the dominant style of architecture going up in those places where they're doing infill is 3 and 4 story, very industrial looking. I kind of call it a semi-contemporary brutalist block style construction. And so it would be nice if we had something unique here, and I do think that the option 2 is a nice design for our community, even if we can't mandate a design. Discussion item 3 was the objective design standards. I didn't really have, so it said design elements such as rooftop decks, building spaces, surface parking locations have been considered. This was comments from Mr. Bell in his notes. The open space, both at ground level and roof level, should be inviting to the public and the neighborhood. And this goes back to view shed, that if we're going to steal a community's view, and in this case because a lot of the eastern properties from this are on the flats, so we're going to steal a lot more than the 300-foot noticing difference of views, is that we ought to be considering offering public views. Right? This section of property will have a phenomenal sunset, as we saw this evening, and the public should be able to enjoy the view from this piece of property. And so if it moves forward in a fashion that it blocks the lion's share of the views from the neighborhoods to the east, and it's probably several blocks to the east, there should be public access sunset views incorporated into this project. Roof decks, public access park, something that compensates the public for a very long section of lost view to the coast. All right. Number 4, site configuration, building orientation, view considerations. We talked a lot about view corridors, view sensitivity, even the language of lessen the potential view impact on properties to the east. And so I would like to see some proposals for, depending on how this project goes forward, how you lessen the view impacts on the properties to the east. Again, whether that is compensating view with public access views on roof decks, where these roof decks may be open to commercial spaces as well. I pulled up an aerial view of a place in my former hometown that was called the Elevation Bar, and it's gone through a couple of different iterations since I left, but it is the whole upper level of a 3-story complex that is outdoor dining for places in the building. And so it's open to the public even if you're not dining, but there's bars and restaurants that have access to bring food up to that area. Very nice west-facing public access roof deck. So doable. Let's see. So as presented, it's primarily a townhome development. It should be dominated by commercial, live, work, industrial with a secondary residential component. It should be dominated by commercial, live, work, industrial with a secondary residential component. To include considering condos, apartments, or small boutique hotel rooms, right? That's, again, allowable uses in that neighborhood. So as noted in the community developments analysis, there is insufficient parking on site as designed, and that the surface streets should be reserved for the customers of the commercial space. And I would even go as far as saying whatever happens here, there should be posted 2-hour parking on the street so that it really does get held for the customer use of the commercial space and not overflow residential parking. Until everyone gets rid of their cars and gets e-bikes, because the age of the car is dead, if I quote you correctly.
That is not what I said, but carry on with your discussion of item 3.
That was item 4. I'm actually down to my final comments. I said since a use permit is required for mixed-use development in a CIC zone, I believe we can condition that use permit. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but we can condition that use permit to meet the desires for a public-friendly commercial industrial development with a minor residential component. My question for you is, how do you deny a use permit for a residential mixed use? Would it be denied prior to building it, right? You have to have the use permit before you actually build the building, right?
I'm a little unclear as to what you're asking. You're asking whether we can prematurely deny a use permit before a private developer submits an application for one?
No, I'm asking, what's the order that the use permit happens? Normally you would think of, right, you have a vacant business building and somebody wants to put a business in that location.
Correct.
And they ask for a use permit to put the business in.
Yeah, one of two ways. So a developer, if they have a tenant in mind, let's say a restaurant would be required to obtain a use permit to be constructed on a CIC, within a CIC zone. If the developer was building a brand new building, they had the tenant in mind, then they would request as a part of that use permit for that mixed use building that commercial tenancy be conditioned as a restaurant, and it would have conditions of approval attached thereto. it's getting late. I forget what my second example was going to be, but I think that explains your question. That says
What you said is the use permit would happen at the time of approval of the building.
if they had a
Correct.
specific tenant in mind. If there isn't a tenant, then it can act as a shell, and it's a commercial tenant space available for lease by any of the allowable uses within the CIC zone outlined in Chapter 2 of our development code.
But the residential requires a use permit to be in a CIC zone.
The mixed use component, mixed use is defined as residential, commercial.
If I understand correctly, you're looking at a way to condition the project that would reduce the density of the property. Is that correct?
I'm saying condition the property that the use permit is issued. The use permit's issued with conditions on how the property gets used and how it looks.
Yeah, I understand. So you want to have
Yeah.
a commercial dominant project, which effectively would reduce the commercial threshold, right? So the problem we run into here is under the Housing Accountability Act and it reducing an allowed density for a property. So that would be an illegal condition on a project to reduce the allowed density.
No,
but you
it
could
just forces
condition-
smaller units on upper floors and maintains the ground floor as commercial.
Reducing
Yes,
the
but
size
if
of
it
a
re-
residential unit is also considered a violation.
Yeah. Yes.
So California law is going to preempt anything that this commission does, the council does, or the city would like to do, and will permit this project no matter what.
Subject to objective design standards.
Correct. As a qualifying residential project, subject to objective design standards. The answer to your question, and to everybody in the audiences that is frustrated, we are also frustrated, and the answer is yes.
So 3 hours of public comment, another hour and a half of conversation here really will have zero impact on how this project goes forward.
That is your opinion. I believe the developer here tonight has expressed that they hear your words, your comments in the communities, and they have several items that they're willing, able, and ready to address. And the formal application that they submit, which is still required, we still have that level of land use review authority, will demonstrate whether this has made the difference that we're hoping that it will have and what the intention was behind it.
Yeah, I think one of the younger people that talked said that these will not be something affordable to them.
It's not proposed as an affordable housing project.
I didn't say it was, but for two young professionals on professional salaries in this town, my guess is that somebody like that would be much happier with small condos in this location that they could actually buy and move into, rather than large luxury townhomes that block all the views to the east.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I think the focus of tonight is still to stick to the 4 discussion points. If we are not here to really discuss the affordability of the units.
True,
we can incentivize as much as we can. Our development code allows for that, and I think that that's
But
what
discussion
we need
point
to,
1 was, is it an appropriate use of this piece of property?
which we will address when the formal application is submitted and provide additional opportunity for your commission to comment and potentially find majority in the legal findings that are required. Is it consistent with the zoning code? Is it consistent with the general plan? Is it consistent with California Environmental Quality Act? All those legal findings are made as a part of the formal application, which we do not have yet.
So we're worried about the power the city has potentially. And so the power the city has is to set the objective design standards, right? So we didn't have to say the height could be 40 feet or 55 on Grand. We didn't have to do that. The city council decided to do that. And we would not be sitting here talking about this if they had not made it 40 feet and 55 feet. It would go away. And there's a lot of other objective design standards. If we'd only allowed 30 feet, you'd only have...
Not necessarily, right? Because again, if you're talking about an appropriate use in a zone, and we're referring to this as a mixed-use project in a commercial industrial zone, that is really a 28-unit townhome development with a token commercial piece.
But still
added to it.
qualifies as a mixed use, and mixed use is applicable in the zone that we're dealing with right now.
So I guess
all that is moot.
But is it mixed
it's
use?
qualified.
If you have deeded a lot, right? If you now have a dedicated APN on a deeded lot, and it has no mixed-use component in it whatsoever, is it a mixed-use development?
Well, we've just approved like 5 or 6 of them that have exactly the same premise. And,
Did we do it wrong?
well, I'm not sure about that, but.
I mean, that's a question for.
I think
Oh, look.
if I could just say one thing. So I think at the end of the day, it's important to understand that you're here tonight to provide suggestions to the developer, and they are required to build a project that complies with the code. And when they submit their application, staff will confirm whether or not it complies with the city code and state law. But the developer is here willing and of their own volition to listen to your suggestions. And that's, I think it's just important to remember that that's what they are, because at the end of the day, they're only required to build a project that complies with the code. And it's staff's job when they receive the application to make that determination.
Understood. So I think my closing suggestion is it would be nice to see this be a larger commercial component and a smaller residential component to include things that some of the younger generation can actually afford.
Anything else, Vice Chair Swift?
No, I think I'm.
Keep tapping that. How do I want to close this out? Although we can ask each other questions as well. First, I just want to point out that with the cost to build, which I don't know what that number is, but someone in this room does, I think it's very unreasonable to think that any new construction is going to be affordable to a young person. The goal is to get the people who can afford new construction out of the homes they're in currently, such that the old homes are cheaper. That's how it works with cars, right? We all remember when we weren't building new cars and the used cars got really expensive. This community and most of California has never seen an unrestricted housing market that naturally grew with population and that allowed new homes to be built when there were new people, including new people who were born. Anyway, got to get that off my chest. So part of what we were hoping to do with the code is zone such that it would be possible for builders to build homes for folks to get out of their old homes, to free up housing stock and free up rentals. So get people out of the top end of the rental market, get people out of their old homes into something that would be attractive to them. So I hear what you're saying about the townhome style. What I want to point out in terms of this design, because I live in a skinny row home, the home next to me was on the market for 3-4 months. And one of the realtors came by and said, "Why haven't we gotten any offers?" And I said, "It's because you don't have a toilet on the ground floor." And people who can afford a $500,000 home, most of them are over 55. They're taking that Prop 13 transfer that they can take from a home they've already owned. So they're downsizing, and they're thinking about, in their future years, how am I going to continue to live in this home? And if you don't have an elevator, you need a toilet on the ground floor. And this project has 28 of them. So I like that about it. There are also those bedroom bath units, that third bedroom bath that's on the ground floor is facing the street and is like right next to that little porch area, right? If I read the documents. So that gives whoever is living in that space, maybe it's a family that is, their kids are off to college, they're downsizing, but they've got a parent they got to take care of. And that parent can live on the ground floor, experience everything that's happening with all the neighborhood, be able to walk to what they're going to walk to. There are people who can do that. I don't think these will be $2 million, but that's not for me to know. So back to the design. I think it's a good thing to have more homes that have a ground floor toilet. Okay. This has 28 of them. In terms of land use compatibility, I do have some questions about why is this zoned the way it is? Like, I don't understand the history of why was it zoned this way? How long has it been zoned this way? How long has it been zoned to be buildable if, no one's aware of whether it is possible to build on it? I can't answer those questions now either. They'll come out when, we look at, whether it's what a real development application comes through. So, so that's the land use compatibility. But in terms of what the community needs, I think we do need more places that have those small ground floor units where people can, I'm sorry, just live out the rest of their lives comfortably. And maybe they're renting from somebody who's upstairs. It's not an official ADU or JDU. Well, it'd be an ADU because it's got a toilet. But, you could have a hot plate and live down there very comfortably. If you for the right family or the right community members. It might be 3 adults who aren't related that all go in together. I love a Golden Girls idea. I know you guys do too. Okay, back to the architectural style. I think I'm the only one who saw number 2 and thought, ooh, Southern plantation, big house. So I'm hoping it doesn't turn out that way. I like the idea of the little porches. I will go to say, so we've got 7 homes here, right? So it's supposed to be 7 homes. I feel like the facade articulation has gone a little too far. Because I find it confusing that some of the homes have a front balcony on the top with a shade, and some have a front balcony and no shade, or like it doesn't read with a rhythm to me. And that is not any, I'm not an architect, I don't know what the patterns here are, but just to my eye, it feels like, even if each of the row homes was a different color, if there was a bit more sort of rhythm to what's coming out and what's going back. And color-wise, I think we see this where this happens with the unit I live in. When you're looking at it, because of what's further forward and what's further back, you get shadows, and that also breaks up the visual of things. So we're sort of seeing in the rendering, you're starting to see where the shade is from things that are coming out, and I'm sure that the software does that. You used to have to do it by hand, I know. I don't mind the brick, but again, this feels like too many competing things, and I'm not sure which unit, does the unit on the right, does it also have a little thing over is the next unit over only 2 stories and the first unit has a big 3rd story? So visually that's confusing to me. But I'll go back to my idea of, Sesame Street. I know we don't have brownstones, but this idea that it's a few homes all next to each other, you're sharing a wall, and you see your neighbors, because the cars aren't, your driveway and your vehicle isn't right out there in front separating you from the space. So that's my opinion on that. And so far as the objective design standards, I think maybe the facade articulation kind of falls into that. Our code, I believe it's on page, so after the massing, yeah, I think the requirement is 1 of each A, B, and C. I feel like that we're sort of asking a lot there, but then when there's more than one of those things, say it's got both regresses and window patterns and continuous architectural features, all of these, then to my eye, it just looks busy. So, the other thing I wanted to ask. Well, people are starting to know my laundry list of nice to haves. If you've got a stairwell, could you put an outlet at the bottom and the top? Areas for your pets to go to the bathroom so they're not peeing on your neighbor's lawn. The bike rack that was in the rendering is a very old style and not good for visiting e-bikes. So I have a cargo bike. It's nice to have enough space for that. And just make sure that it's properly in the concrete. So people aren't just snipping it off. We have gone on for a good amount of time. There will be, I know, should this come back to us, which hopefully it will in some form. There'll be more opportunity for discussion. I want to thank everybody who came out to talk about this. And, my apologies for sort of trying to herd the discussion into the item, but that is the task of the chair. So I really appreciate everyone who came out and everyone who spoke. We're trying to balance the needs of a lot of different people with this code. We made some decisions. It sounds like it was a surprise to a lot of people who, if you've lived here a long time, we would think you know that every 8 years we have to do a housing element. And so that means we have to plan for new homes, and that means we have to look at the code to see if it's possible to build them. But, maybe some folks didn't catch on to that for 30 years. So here we are. Here we are. So where am I in my checklist here? Anything else from the commission? I kind of went off topic there. Apologies.
Item 4.
So we gave feedback on the pre-application. No motion is required. We will move on to item 4. Or will we? It is 9:45.
Yeah.
We had to beg to get this on the agenda.
We're doing it?
Do we have to? Can we do it next time?
Yeah, can we defer this to next time?
Yeah, so the commission doesn't have any standing bylaws at this point in time, so there's no hard and fast rule as to when you might consider by majority vote adjourning. But Jen, if you want to step in.
That's true. There is in the meeting procedures in your agenda a cutoff time of 11 p.m., an automatic cutoff of 11 p.m. unless you vote by supermajority to continue past 11. So you're not there yet, but there's also no rule that says you can't adjourn or continue an item to the next meeting as long as it's not something that's time sensitive, which I don't think that this one is.
I personally, I think I know a lot of people have sat to be able to talk on this issue, but in order to give it our full attention, and I would be interested in continuing it to another meeting.
I would as well. I think,
agree.
Yeah.
We're getting it.
I do have a question. It's kind of a housekeeping item question. The staff report, it was published. Your commission, you were all able to review it. Is it appropriate for me to ask whether with the next item, whether or not, and we would publicly notice it again, even if you decided to continue to a date certain, we can, well, sorry, this is a business item, never mind. It's almost 10 o'clock. My question is there any additional information that you would like for staff to include in this report, and we can provide a revised memorandum as part of that report and provide that additional information to you? So was there anything lacking in the report as it exists today and the topics that were identified that you'd like included at the January meeting?
So
Is that appropriate?
I think if we begin that conversation, we do need to open it up for public comment.
All right, well then I might just pass, but that was one of my questions, was whether you'd like any additional information.
So may I suggest that if we had any extra items, we could just email them to you? for
Absolutely.
Inclusion in the next,
Absolutely.
in the actual consideration of the item?
Much better idea.
And Anne, are you okay with continuing this item 4 to a different meeting? All right, so do I need a motion to do that?
So because it wasn't a publicly noticed item, you don't have to officially continue it. It can just appear on the next agenda. You could just make your motion to adjourn. Does that answer your
Well,
question?
there's still remaining commissioners' comments and community development director's report.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I
then-
would like to try to knock those out tonight.
Yeah, should be fast.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move on to, since we didn't need a motion, commissioners, any further comments?
Sure. You're welcome.
They should double our salary,
Yeah.
which is 0.
How's that math go? 2 times 0 is?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
All right, so.
Mine's already open.
My dear commissioners, any further comments? We're starting with you, Commissioner Halverson.
Oh, any other comments? No, I think I've made enough comments.
No comments.
Commissioner Huffman, Commissioner Holden, Vice Chair Swift.
I always have comments. I think I'm just going to add, and unfortunately everybody has left, so hopefully they'll go back and listen to the text. But I think when professional organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and the Home Builders Association and YIMBY come in and trash talk the community, I think that's bad for the community. And when you refer to the community that actually shows up as the peanut gallery, I think, again, as a professional organization, you're sending a bad message. So if any of you know those people or communicate with those people, you might want to pass on to them that they are not the community. They are a professional organization that speaks for their organization, and they should not badmouth our community in a public meeting. That's my only.
Ms. Jeffries is no longer associated with YIMBY. So
Okay.
she doesn't speak for them.
Then she just badmouthed her community because she could.
She's a neighbor. She can say what she wants. Anyway, I don't have any further comments besides that. So we'll go on to the Community Development Director's report. Please, Director Martin.
Just a couple of updates. Wanted to let you all know that Cleaver and Clark continues as scheduled, January occupancy, and they'll be planning a ribbon cutting, so be on the lookout for an invitation to that ribbon cutting and grand opening. 950 El Camino Real also continues. It's in its final stages of inspections. Our very own senior planner, Mr. Bell, is working diligently with their team to ensure everything goes according to our codes. And I just also wanted to say this is the last meeting of the year, so happy holidays to each and every one of you. Thank you for everything that you've done. This also would have, sounded a little bit differently if we had had the prior item that we were intending to have, but I'll look forward to having that in January. And I just wanted to provide a look ahead, very brief look ahead for all of you after the first of the year. Be on the lookout for the general plan annual progress report that'll summarize the data for the last year, including all of our permits and all of our development applications that your commission took a look at. That'll be available, I believe, in March. February, March, because we'll have to have it approved by City Council in April. Our circulation element update continues. We are also going to be bringing forward to the City Council the multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan. I know a lot of folks were giving some interest to our tsunami inundation zone and just tsunami zone in general, and what our safety protocols and procedures are in the event of a tsunami and that level of risk. So that will be available as part of that, as well as the SLO County's Emergency Operations Plan. And lastly, towards the end of the first quarter, my team and I are going to be kicking off our 7th cycle housing element. So a lot of what was discussed this evening will kind of be in a culmination of how we will be taking that forward, what will be required to comply with at the state level, and we look forward to a lot of additional community engagement as part of that project. So the kickoff of that for us, starting with a request for proposals from qualified consultants, will begin toward the end of the first quarter of the year. With that, I'm done. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Well, if I may, on behalf of the commission, thank staff for an incredible year of work. There's been a lot going on, and I think that you have demonstrated a lot of professionalism and expertise from your years of work. So thank you. It's an honor to be part of this with you. And with that, the meeting is adjourned at 9:55.